Most people get jewelry as an heirloom. Elodie Perdia got a shattered pendant and a front row seat to her own death. Talk about a bad inheritance. After regaining her memories of our world, Elodie realizes she's the villainess of a fantasy novel. In the original story, she's destined for an early grave, and her terrifying family? They're the ones who usually make it happen. But now that she knows exactly what's coming, Elodie is playing a dangerous game. She's using her knowledge of the future to avoid her death flags, but the more she tries to escape, the more her villainous family becomes obsessed with her. Today we're recapping My Villainous Family Won't Let Me Be. Can you really outrun fate when your family owns the track? This story began with a keepsake of Elodie's late mother, but after it shattered, she gasped, suddenly flooded with memories and a familiar voice echoing in her head. Take my hand! Then, in an instant, a name. Ga-eul Yun. Everything jolted as Elodie's eyes snapped wide open. Where am I? She found herself in a completely different world. A passerby noticed Elodie's distress. Gosh, sweetie, are you alright? Elodie, disoriented, could only manage a shaky. I am, thank you, the woman pressed. Are you sure you don't want a hand with anything? But Elodie insisted. Yes, I'll be fine. Truly, you needn't pay me any mind. Her vision swam, dizziness clouding her mind until... Lady Elodie! Elodie was back in her room, maids rushing to her side. I'm so sorry, my lady, I should never have. I beg your pardon. Elodie realized the fleeting recollections cascading from beyond. Oh, haha. She nervously laughed, but inside she thought, well, I'm screwed. Those were the memories of her past life. Her name is Elodie Perdia, the love child of Duke Perdia, born out of wedlock. Until recently, his only daughter. Elodie was raised with only the memories that belonged to her, until now. The lost memories of her past life were restored when her mother's keepsake shattered. Maybe past life is the wrong way to put it. The world Elodie inhabits now is inside a fantasy novel that she used to read called How to Find Love as a Villainous Family's Unwanted Stepdaughter. For reasons unknown, she's been cast into the tale with a part to play. It might be a dream come true for some, perhaps, except in this story, Elodie Perdia is the antagonist, a wicked villainess, if you will, who meets an early demise as payback for all manner of evil deeds. Can I play someone else? Thankfully, Elodie kept her memories as Elodie, even after regaining the memories before the transmigration, as you'd call it. Why couldn't I have gotten my old memories at birth? Why now, after everything I've done? Abuse of power against household staff, lavish, wasteful lifestyle. At this rate, they'll execute her just like in the novel. First things first. Let me think. Elodie's number one priority is to not get killed like Elodie did in the book. She needs to remember any details that might prove helpful. She's done a whole lot of awful things, but that's not why she died. Not exactly. There was another reason that's outside of her control. In the end, the biggest problem is her father, Duke Perdia himself. He is the ultimate bad guy in this novel. Like the heartless villain that he is, he didn't lift a finger to help Elodie as she faced her death. Thanks, Dad. Real fatherly of you. It's no wonder why Duke Perdia was so unperturbed by his daughter's brutal demise. Once you get to reading about the novel's heroine, Estelle, meet Estelle Perdia, a young girl who is adopted into House Perdia to be used as a tool for the Duke's political machinations, but eventually wins over the frosty Perdias one by one with the trademark warmth and kindness of the wholesome female lead archetype. You know the rest. It's a staple of the wholesome romance fantasy genre. Now, Elodie, who was betrothed to the crown prince, later has her betrothal annulled when her reputation is tarnished by rumors of her misdeeds. Then, true to form as a schemer who seeks to consolidate power through the crown prince, her father, as head of the renowned House Perdia, adopted Estelle, the novel's heroine, to betroth her to the crown prince instead. I've got to get away from this family. To do that, she has to evade Duke Perdia's eyes and ears. She could try to escape, but he'd find her in no time. Besides, a sudden attempt to cut and run would only raise suspicion, which means Elodie has to find a legitimate reason to leave this house before Estelle gets adopted. Easier said than done. The Duke might not even allow it. Still, she has to try everything she can think of. There's one thing she has to do before she even gets started. Tada! My dashing platinum blonde, green-eyed prince, I'm afraid it's time to bid you goodbye. Only you? Farewell, my sweet prince! Not that I object to staring at that gorgeous face for the rest of my life, but actually staying alive is more important. Break up with the Crown Prince. Check. At Manor, a servant presents a letter to Crown Prince saying, Your Highness, a letter has arrived for you. He replied, Yes, from House Perdia I see. No doubt it's from Lady Elodie. I did send word that we have much to discuss over the matter of His Majesty's birthday banquet. Perhaps she wishes to set a date. Added Mary Prezel Willent, Crown Prince of the Willentia Empire, mused before his eyes narrowed. Ha! Surely she jests. The Crown Prince's attendant asked. Is something amiss, sire? The letter read. Your Highness, I regret to inform you that we will not be meeting after all. Might I impose on you to sign the enclosed document and submit it on my behalf? Ha! What is she playing at? Meanwhile, Elodie waited nervously for her father. I was told you summoned me. Father. Duke Sylvester Perdia, head of House Perdia, turned to Elodie. Indeed. What a fine mess you've made. Elodie froze. Oh. I don't even know which mess he means. He's never said a word after all the awful tantrums I've thrown in the past. Is it the most recent time when I raised my hand against the household staff? Or does he mean the commotion I made at the last banquet? Elodie Perdia, I would care to hear it from your own mouth. What could have possessed you to forgive me, father? What? Duke Perdia's eye twitched. What did you just? Elodie Perdia, Elodie pressed on. Please forgive me. I promise I won't do it again, he said. Enough. You sent a letter demanding an annulment of your betrothal a few days ago, did you not? Do not deny it. The Crown Prince himself informed me as much. Elodie smiled brightly. Oh. Then I see the apology was entirely unnecessary. Her father froze, she thinks. So, that's what this is about, he said. Long have I turned a blind eye to your antics underneath my roof. This, however, is a different matter altogether. Do you not recall me begging for this betrothal? She replied. Yes, and given how you opposed it, I assumed you would be glad to see it annulled, he said. The circumstances have changed. As she remembered, neither the Duke nor the Crown Prince were exactly over the moon about it. That's why Elodie thought they would both be happy to have her withdrawal from the betrothal agreement, she thinks. I certainly wasn't expecting the prince to reach out to my father, she then asked. Do you mean that you won't allow the betrothal to be broken? He replied. Precisely so, she said. Very well. I understand. Duke Perdia narrowed his eyes. And for the time being, you will be grounded to the manor, Elodie, she replied. Yes, father. As you command. She paused for a moment and then said, Father. Her father stares at her. She asked. Was there anything else you wished to say? He said. No. You may return to your room and reflect on your actions, she said. Of course. Then I shall take my leave. Elodie turned and walked out. She slammed the door shut behind her. Elodie breathed a sigh of relief. So, that was terrifying. At least I got off with a lighter punishment than I expected. Her heart pounded in her chest. Why is this so hard? We never even got married. Having said that, this is more or less what I expected. Back to the annex. Though Elodie was the one who pushed for it, the betrothal is a done deal. Which means House Perdia has formally pledged its support for the Crown Prince. I suppose it was never going to be broken on my whim alone. Still, there's no rush. I still have 3 whole years at my disposal. In that time, I'll find a way out of this household, no matter what it takes. In a world torn apart by the 7 grave sins, who serve the goddess Urkala and her insatiable hunger for both the heavens and the earth. The 7 grave sins wrought death and destruction across the continent at her behest. Then, as the continent fell to its knees, Ishtar, Urkala's younger sister and goddess of the heavens, descended to save the continent. She bestowed her blessings upon 7 mortals, who then defeated and sealed away the sins. The human heralds of Ishtar emerged victorious, and were hailed as heroes, each founding a noble house in their own name. And thus arose the founding legend behind the Empire of Valentia. But back in the present day, while visiting the main residence, our girl Elodie is stopped in her tracks. Hello there, Lily. I haven't seen you in a while, a man says. Elodie plasters on a sweet smile, saying, Haha, why, yes. It's been too long, some might say. Meanwhile she thinks, I had a feeling I might run into those 2 in the main residence. But just my luck that it would happen right after a scolding. Brother Yancey, and Brother Carl. Elodie thinks. Yancey, first son and heir to Duke Perdia, asks her point blank. I heard about your request to annul the betrothal, Elodie. Is it true? It is, Elodie replies. Carl scoffs. Request? Come off it, she was clearly dumped, she thinks to herself. That little pipsqueak, has he forgotten that I'm 2 years older than him? Elodie laughs. Haha, I suppose you're not wrong, Carl, Yancey inquires. Was father very cross with you? Elodie responds. I shouldn't think so. I was grounded, that's all. Yancy's lips quirk up in a small smile. I see. Well, it could certainly have been much worse, Lily. Yancy Perdia, direct heir to the Perdia bloodline, possesses the terrifying blessing of obliteration. Yancy's vaunted power to erase something from existence is feared by all, yet the true source of terror for them to be so wary of him stems from the nature of his character. You see, behind the illusion of kindness hides a calculating heart of ice. He would be more than content to trample upon the lives of others, should it benefit him. Elodie gulps, thinking. Completely two-faced, in other words, Yancy asks. Lily, are you feeling unwell? Carl chimes in. As she's faking it. Elodie thinks. Ugh. Be still, my heart. Don't let his gentle demeanor fool you, Carl, ever the charmer, adds. While you're grounded, why don't you get that deranged head of yours looked at? Or better yet, never set foot outside the guest house again? Good riddance, I say. I don't know who he thinks he is, but he's cruising for a bruising. Elodie fumes internally. Yancy scolds. Please, Carl. You know how I feel about that sort of talk. We share the same blood, and we must always look out for family. Carl is disgusted. Family? Yuck. Are you sure we share the same blood as that thing? Yancy smiles. But of course. Ishtar has blessed me with not one, but two beloved siblings. Elodie shivers. I don't know how he can tell such barefaced lies with a straight face. She thinks. Yes. Thank you, brother. Now, with your leave, I really ought to retire to the guest house. It was so lovely to see you both, Elodie says. Indeed. We should do this more often, Lily. Yancy replies smoothly. Carl said. Bleh. Did you hear that, Yancy? I almost emptied out my stomach at the sight of that little tyrant. Speaking of which, what's gotten into her today? Is she feeling unwell, I wonder? Carl asks. Yancy agrees. I do agree with you there, Carl. She doesn't seem her usual self. Something seems different about Elodie indeed. While Yancy and Carl both manifested their blessings as children, Elodie has been an unfortunate exception her entire life. But the reason is because she's not a true Perdia. Though publicly known as the Duke's daughter out of wedlock, in truth, she's not even that. There isn't so much as a drop of Perdia blood in her veins. And as soon as she was exposed as someone unrelated to House Perdia, she thinks, well, all the more reason to secure my freedom before I'm found out. You can do it, Elodie. But there's a silver lining to this giant cloud. Suddenly she started laughing weirdly. I told you, she's finally lost it. A maid whispers. Elodie chuckles. I would never have known if I hadn't recovered my past life's memories. Fortunately for me, I know that, one day, I'll manifest a blessing that I inherited from my biological parents. Jackpot! And not just any, but a blessing of purification bestowed upon the House of Duke Severus. Not so fortunately. In the novel, using my true blessing only results in me being discovered as a false Perdia and being put to death. Why does every timeline end with me being killed for not being the Duke's real daughter? And even less fortunately, Duke Richard Severus, my biological father and the head of House Severus, happens to be deep in a coma from which he shows no signs of waking. To summarize, I'm out of luck if I'm expecting any help from him. I've got the worst damn fathers. Elodie thinks. Once my blessing manifests, I should hide it as best I can. Alright, let's do this, and put it to good use, to earn my freedom before I'm exposed. Elodie makes her way to the garden of Duchess Perdia. Oh, how stunning, though its beauty hides more than just a few deadly perils. Even so, this is where my bid for freedom begins. Suddenly she heard footsteps approaching. It's not often you come here at all, Elodie, a woman says. I didn't know I was expecting you. What brings you to my garden? It's Demise Perdia, wife of Duke Perdia, biological mother of Yancy and Carl, and the greatest poisonsmith in all of Valencia. Your presence was missed, Madam Duchess, Elodie says. She then glanced at her. I had hoped to consult with you, however. Might I propose we speak while we take a stroll through your glass house? Demise is visibly startled. My glass house? Are you sure? Elodie smiles. Of course. As it happens, my question relates to the fine work you do, Madam Duchess. Demise wonders. As you wish. Come, you, how kind of you, Elodie said, while leaving. Demise pauses suddenly. Before we enter, Elodie, I must warn you that there are many things inside that may harm you. You mustn't touch anything without my permission. Oh, I wouldn't dream of it, Elodie replies. Then they both went inside. Now, what is it that you wish to consult me on? Demise asks. Oh, well, I heard a little rumor, so to speak. A rumor, you say? Demise asks. Elodie presses on. Yes, I was told the Imperial Palace has given you the order. Ah, yes, and? Demis asks. It all just seems so unjust. After all the hard work you've done for the common farmers, how could they order you to destroy the entire stock of pesticides you developed? Elodie asks. Though I appreciate the sentiment, there's not that can be done. I crafted the pesticide for the good of the people, that much is true, but it cannot be denied that the substance is toxic to the human body. Elodie perks up. See, that's where I come in. I believe I can help in that regard. Demis sighs. My dear Elodie, what could you possibly do to help? Demis stares at the bottle Elodie presents. Elodie smiles. It's the solution to your predicament. An antidote. Ode de antitoxin, Elodie Perdia edition, a counteragent of my own creation. Meanwhile she thinks. Step 2 in my road to freedom. Get money, get paid. The Duchess eyes Elodie suspiciously. Elodie, do you expect me to take what you're saying at face value? I do hope this isn't some ill-advised prank to make a mockery of me. Elodie smiles sweetly. I assure you it's not, though I did suspect you might be skeptical. If it would please you, why not try administering it yourself as a test? And if it doesn't work, guaranteed money back. The Duchess seems intrigued. Very well. I suppose I could humor you for a while, since you happen to catch me at a lull. Won't you come closer, Elodie? She beckons Elodie forward. Sure! Elodie replies cheerfully. The Duchess gestures towards a specimen. Take a look. What do you suppose this is? Elodie peers into the glass case, her eyes widening slightly. Oh my, it's a worm, isn't it? A rather large one at that. One might even think it's cute. Inside the case, a large, pink worm wriggles around, Duchess said. Yes, but it's no ordinary worm. What you see is a wormpent, the cause of the recent blight. A fiendish creature, its remarkable resilience and reproductive capacity are a threat to all crops. The Duchess explains the situation. What better test subject for the counteragent you've brought me? She then turns a valve. Elodie watches, startled. Are you dosing the wormpent with your pesticide? Yes, once the creature is well and truly under the influence of the pesticide, we shall see whether your so-called antidote will bring it back to health. The Duchess pours Elodie's potion into the case. Elodie stares intently, her hands clenched nervously. She thinks, not that I doubt my own potion, but I do feel tense having it tested right before my eyes. I know you're a pest, wormpent, but hang in there. The well-being of humanity and my financial future depend on it. She then peeked to see the worm, and she gets surprised. Suddenly, the wormpent twitches. The Duchess also got surprised. Praise Ishtar! The wormpent lives, Madam Duchess! The Duchess looks surprised as Elodie clasps her hands together in excitement. My antidote triumphed over the puny poison! Elodie exclaims triumphantly. The Duchess turns to Elodie, a thoughtful expression on her face. I do apologize, I didn't mean to slight your work. Meanwhile she thinks, I have to remember that she's not my friend. Duchess said, no need to apologize, girl. I'm merely impressed. You were always so quiet and faint of heart around me, you know. Oh, how times have changed. In any case, Elodie, I believe I owe you a fair price for this wonderful antidote of yours. Elodie thinks to herself. I did it, she said. I have one condition, Madam Duchess. I ask that you sell this antidote under your name, not mine. The Duchess raises an eyebrow. What? Elodie said. And in return, I'd like a cut of the profit, payable in cash. I'm sorry, but why wouldn't we use your name? The Duchess asks. Elodie replied. Because no one would believe that I made it, of course. Not only that, I'd prefer not to draw attention to myself. If you wouldn't mind, our entire deal should be kept a secret. She thinks that is the only way I will be able to disappear without a trace when the time comes. The Duchess considers this. Fine. It'll be no loss to me, but I do have a condition of my own. You must tell me, how did you craft this fine a potion by yourself? Elodie replies. The truth is, a few days ago, my celestial blessing finally manifested. The Duchess is skeptical. Your blessing? Elodie smiles. Yes, and from what I've seen, it has the power to destroy a poison's harmful effects. Elodie thinks to herself. A minor correction, what it actually does is cleanse the poison, not destroy it. In the original novel, Elodie hatches a plot to dose Estelle with a deadly poison, only to end up ingesting it herself in the end. Because of her blessing of cleansing, however, Elodie does not succumb to the poison's lethal effect. But with the nature of her power laid bare, she is identified as a false Perdia, a small white lie to spare myself from a tragic death. Naturally, the Duchess is unlikely to be thrilled by the news of my newfound blessing. The Duchess replies. I'm so pleased to hear that you've found your blessing at last. Isn't this cause to celebrate? Not a secret to be kept hidden? Elodie said. I suppose, but I wouldn't want to cause any undue misunderstandings. Dense as I might seem, I know my place under father's roof. What I'm saying is, you needn't worry about me, one way or another. She thinks I'm the unwanted stepchild of House Perdia. I pose no threat whatsoever to you or your 2 sons. The Duchess stares at Elodie, then softens her expression. I see. I understand. How thoughtful of you, Elodie. Thank you for being so understanding, Madam Duchess. Elodie says, smiling. The Duchess raises her glass. Oh, it's the least I can do for my business partner. To the future, Elodie. Later, Elodie is lying in bed, looking pale and unwell. Her maid, Martha, rushes to her side, concerned. Goodness, my lady! Your face has been as pale as a callus ever since you went to see Madame Demi's. Martha continues, teary-eyed. I do hope you're not sick, my lady. What possessed you to go to that poisonous lair in the first place? You can't spoil your complexion like this. It's the only thing you've got going for yourself. Elodie replies weakly. Are you sure you're worried about me, Martha? Your concern sounds suspiciously rude, Martha insists. Why, I'm worried sick about you, my lady. If anything were to happen to you, I'd lose my only source of income. Elodie said. Martha, I swear, if you weren't my nanny's daughter, I would have had you thrown out years ago. No matter, I'm perfectly fine. Madame Demi's was as pretty as ever, in case you're wondering. Martha gushes. Oh, there's no doubt about that. The lady doesn't age. In fact, if I didn't know any better, you could tell me she's your sister, and you'd get away with it. Elodie sits up in surprise. My sister? Martha is oblivious. Finally, she rises. Let's get a move on, my lady. There's a guest waiting for you. Elodie is confused. A guest? I can't think of anyone who would want to see me, Martha said. Well, as your only friend in the world, I'm sadly inclined to agree. If only you could buy friends, Elodie deadpans. Martha, I wasn't aware I ordered a roast for dinner, Martha said. Just aside, you'd better get going, my lady. This is one guest you shouldn't keep waiting. Elodie asks. Really? And who is this guest of mine, exactly? Martha announces dramatically. Oh, just His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince of Valencia. We see the Crown Prince, added Mary, sitting patiently. He's definitely not happy, tapping his fingers and looking impatient. Elodie rushes in, looking flustered. 1,000 pardons, Your Royal Highness. It wasn't my intent to keep you waiting. Adam Mary replies. Pay it no mind. Please join me. I believe we have much to discuss. Elodie looks at him warily. She said, Before we begin, I must stress that my request for an annulment is genuine. And I sincerely regret that I pressured you to accept an engagement that you never desired in the first place. Adam Mary said. Regret? That doesn't sound like you at all. It's almost like you're possessed. Elodie smiles insincerely. Oh, you do amuse me, Your Highness. Why, I'm perfectly fine, he asked. Is that so? Your complexion does seem a little on the pale side. Elodie thinks to herself. What is it with everyone and my complexion today? I'm telling you, I'm fine. Elodie responds. Well, the problem is, I'm afraid my father is vehemently opposed to an annulment. I would be most grateful if you could speak some sense into him, Your Highness. He never listens to a word I say. Adam Mary asks. Lady Elodie, why is it that you suddenly desire an annulment? If I may speak candidly, I believe I've fallen in love. Adam Mary is taken aback. What? Elodie smiles sweetly. Yes, though it makes me blush to admit, but even I know that it would dishonor you to wed while I have another man in my heart. I implore you, please allow this annulment. Adam Mary looks down at her, his expression hardening. Lady Elodie, I will not go back on my word so easily. Adam Mary's sitting across from Elodie, and something's clearly amiss. He thinks back. As I recall, Lady Elodie coveted the Crown Princess's title above all else. How could she have found another love so soon? He remembers her claiming her affections for him were genuine. Yet now her disinterest is clear in her entire demeanor. Elodie's sipping tea, seemingly lost in thought. She asks, Are you listening to me at all? He continues in his head. How suspicious that her attitude should change overnight. There must be something more to this than meets the eye. I will not go back on my word so easily. She asked, shocked. I beg your pardon, he said. If this is some childish manner of drawing my attention, I warn you, you will not succeed. Damn, he's cold, he continues. It would be no trouble to grant an annulment if that's what you honestly desire. But this is no matter to be decided on a whim. We shall discuss the matter properly in due course. But suddenly Elodie clutches her head. Oh. My head feels a little fuzzy. Adam Mary just sees this as another play. Now, with regard to the preparations for my father's birthday banquet, I believe it's best to communicate in writing. He internally scoffs. And now she feigns frailty to draw my sympathy. What a laughable charade. He smirks at the thought. But then, Elodie just straight up falls off the couch. Adamiri's eyes widen in shock as she slumps to the floor. Lady Elodie, is this an act? If this is a jest, it's in bad taste, Lady Elodie. Do not humiliate yourself. You've made your point, Lady Elodie. Please, you may rise. He actually reaches down to try and help her out. Lady Elodie, but she's out cold. She's unconscious. That means she actually fainted, he shouts. Somebody! Lady Elodie has collapsed. Is anybody there? But silence is all that answers him. Adamiri picks her up, cradling her in his arms. She may only be the Duke's illegitimate child, but it's a disgrace that there is not one servant to tend to her in her hour of need. Carrying her, he thinks. What have I gotten myself into? With the Duke's daughter in his arms, he sets out to find a guest room in which to lay her down. Not long after he left the drawing room, he came across the maid he often saw accompanying Lady Elodie. Martha, I believe her name was. Thanks to the maid's assistance, he was able to lay her down in a nearby bedchamber, only to be told. Again? That's not the first time she's done that. Adamiri's stunned. Again? She says so flippantly too. Is that all the concern she can muster when her master has fainted? While Elodie's out, Adamiri notices something. He sees a cut on her arm. A cut? Without a doubt from a blade, no less. He then lost in thoughts. Confined to a guest house almost devoid of household staff, with the one maid who serves her seemingly unfazed by her collapse, and a knife wound on her arm. Thankfully, her condition doesn't appear to be life-threatening. Adamiri reflects. When I saw her hands shaking with cold sweat on her brow, I presumed she was merely nervous in my presence. To think that she was actually ill, I'm ashamed to have ridiculed her in doubt. I was so certain I had seen quite enough of her. But now it seems as though I hardly knew her at all. The next day, Elodie wakes up. Ugh! My head! She realizes. I must have fainted from the toxin's residue from when I was crafting the antidote. She thinks back. Upon my blessing's manifestation, I discovered that there were a few conditions to trigger its effect. First, I must imbibe the poison myself. Once the poison is within me, I can apply my blessing to any ordinary water, thereby creating the counteragent to the poison. I also found that I can use my blood instead, if I lack the time. I only meant to prick my skin a little, but then my hand slipped. Back in the present, Elodie wonders. I don't remember changing the bandages. Maybe the physician came and went while I was passed out. I thought he had no time to tend to children born out of wedlock. Has he changed his policy? Martha enters the room. Huh! Oh, I see you're up at last. I brought you some warm water, my lady. Elodie replies. Thank you, Martha. Martha continues. Here, I have your medicine, too. Elodie thinks. Ugh. Why powder? More importantly, Martha, where is the crown prince? Martha responds. His Highness left as soon as the doctor arrived, my lady. Elodie realizes. Oh. That's right. I must have fallen right in front of him. I mean, not that it matters. Martha pipes up. Oh. By the by, His Highness bade me to pass this on to you once you were awake. There you go, my lady. She hands Elodie a letter. Elodie wonders. A letter. I wonder why he felt the need. Well? What does it say, my lady? Elodie opens it. She froze reading it. The letter reads. Esteemed Lady Elodie, you are doubtlessly aware that the birthday banquet to honor His Majesty the Emperor draws near. I shall come to your father's manor precisely half an hour before the ball. I hope I will have the pleasure of your company. Elodie exclaims. Oh. I asked for an annulment only to be invited to a ball. She shouts shocked. Damn it, the Emperor's birthday. Drama mode engaged. I was counting on the annulment, so I didn't even bother finding a dress to wear. Martha appears ever so helpful. Don't you worry about that, my lady. I've got you covered. Just trust me, Elodie sighs. You know, you really are attentive in all the wrong ways, Martha. The banquet is the least of my concerns, I'll have you know. For the life of me, I can't think why His Highness won't allow the annulment. Martha suggests. You never know, maybe he's finally fallen head over heels for you. Elodie asks. What? The Crown Prince, falling head over heels for me? That's absurd, Martha. Elodie's face darkens. Do not ever again spout such nonsense in my presence again. Martha stutters. Is it really that absurd to think, my lady? Elodie asks. Did I stutter? Elodie considers. Well, this definitely throws a wrench into the works, but I still have plenty of time. It'll be fine. 3 years remain until the Duke adopts Estelle, and my preparations are well underway for me to gain independence by then. Until then, my only resort is to stack cold, hard cash. Or at least that's what I thought. A few days later, in the manor hallway, she ran into a minor, yet most unexpected obstacle. A man greets her with a smile. Good day to you, my lady, Elodie thinks. A familiar face. Can I help you? The moment she saw his face, she was reminded of a passage from the book. Who would have suspected his kindly face? Hector Herold, Duke Perdia's most trusted aide. A man who devoted himself to his lord with canine loyalty. In the end, plunged a dagger deep into the Duke's unsuspecting back. Hector Herold, a traitor of days to come. In 3 years' time, he would be instrumental in betraying the secrets of my bloodline. Last time, Elodie tried to poison Estelle, but the wine got switched. Lucky for her, her newly awakened blessing of cleansing negated the poison's effects. But in exchange, her true identity was revealed. Turns out, she's Duke Perdia's illegitimate child. And when all is said and done, Elodie meets her fate, scorned and abandoned. She thinks, who switched the fateful glass of wine, you ask? Behold, she continues in her thoughts. Hector ultimately betrays House Perdia in favor of the second prince. Since Duke Perdia supports the crown prince for the throne, he decided to switch the poison for one purpose alone. To sever the alliance between the crown prince and House Perdia. Elodie wonders, how long has he been an agent of the second prince? It won't be for another 3 years before his treachery is laid bare. I wonder if there's a way to discern his true intentions in the present. How could this puppy dog smile hide a hyena's grin? My lady? Hector asks. But she's still lost in thought, thinks, even so, I don't intend to give him a reason to kill me in this life. I can't imagine I need to be suspicious of him just now. For one thing, I have no plans whatsoever to assassinate Estelle myself, she then said. Oh, I was just taking a stroll because I was bored. I may be grounded, but there's no need to confine myself to my bedchamber now, is there? He said. Of course, my lady. I dare say your lord father wouldn't deny you that much, she thinks. I'll have long flown the Duke's nest by the time Hector brings his plans to bear. Whether he's a traitor already or not is none of my concern. Still, I'm not sure I can sleep soundly at night without knowing his intentions. Hector thinks to himself, it's true what they say. Lady Elodie really has lost her marbles. But Elodie is just thinking. Perhaps I'll test him with a little trap, she says. Mr. Herold, might I confide in you with something that has been troubling me of late? He replied. Anything, my lady. What's on your mind? She said. Well, I worry that father is furious with me, for a start. How can I get into his good books again? He asked. Furious, my lady? What could have made him so angry? She replied. That's just the thing. I'm sure you've heard about my request for an annulment by now, he asked. Ah, yes. May I ask why, my lady? Elodie whispers. Well, just between you and me, let me tell you, I think I've become rather fond of the second prince. Hector is absolutely startled. Pardon? Elodie smirks. A fitting reaction, to be sure. I'd basically confess to having a crush on my father's political nemesis. Supposing that Hector is already in league with the second prince, he'll waste no time in conveying what I've just told him. Born out of wedlock or not, I'm Duke Perdia's daughter nonetheless. There could be no tastier morsel for his adversaries, though I'm full of poison for anyone who dares take a bite. Shh! Quiet now, I told you it's a secret. Elodie warns. He said. I'll take it with me to the grave, my lady. Hector stammers. She then asked. On that note, Mr. Herold, what would be the best way to quell my father's rage? He said. If I may be so bold, perhaps you could simply refrain from doing anything to vex him further. How very wise of you, Mr. Herold. I'll bear that in mind. Thank you, Elodie says with a smile. She thinks. The bait is cast, but will the fish bite the hook? The time came much sooner than she expected to reel in the lure. Martha says. There you go, my lady. It's done, Elodie replies. Thank you, Martha. Well? What do you think? Elodie is dressed in a beautiful green gown, Martha stutters. Well, I'm no magic mirror, my lady. But out of all the ladies at the ball, you'll be the fairest of them all. Elodie huffs. At least say it like you mean it, will you? Although she was still grounded, it was Elodie's duty to attend official events as a member of House Perdia. For example, today's birthday banquet in honor of His Majesty the Emperor. Elodie is all dressed up now, but she's also accompanied by Adamiri. He stood near the carriage waiting for her. She thinks, would you look at that sour face of his? It's not as if I'm thrilled to have him as my escort, she says. It's truly an honor, Your Royal Highness. He remains silent. Is something the matter, Your Highness? Elodie asks. No, nothing at all, he replies. She thinks. Does he expect an apology for fainting in his company? Seriously? Mary says. Come, we ought to set off. Allow me to help you into the carriage, Lady Elodie. Oh, Elodie says, placing her hand in his. How kind of you. I do hope today's banquet will be a delight to us both. At the banquet hall, chatters filled the hall. They both enters in banquet arms in arms. Mary says, My lady, I'm afraid I have courtesy calls to make. By all means. Please, go ahead. Elodie responds. After he leaves, she thinks, now that the prince has left me alone at last, this is a perfect opportunity. Not far from the ballroom, a subtle rendezvous location that seems innocent in its conspicuousness. Greetings, Lady Elodie. A voice calls out. She thinks, there it is, just as I had predicted. Hector Arold, the personal aide to Duke Perdia, serves the second prince in secret. Long before the novel's story even began, if my suspicions are correct. Meanwhile, someone said to Mary, if you'd like, I shall take care of the matter as you've instructed, Your Highness. However, I do foresee a slight problem in that. Your Highness? He then asks. Your Highness. Have I displeased you in some? Mary interrupts. A moment, what do we have here? Why in Ishtar's name is Lady Elodie alone with Beltran? She's smiling most radiantly, too. Could it be, he recalls her words, I believe I've fallen in love. Yes, though it makes me blush to admit that the one she supposedly has feelings for is that damned snake? Mary is reeling, utterly shocked. That's who she has affections for? The audacity. He can't believe Elodie would even consider his brother Beltran, muttering to himself. Surely she cannot be of sound mind. His aide tries to get his attention, but Mary isn't having it snapping. Not now, I'm in no mood to talk. He thinks second Prince Beltran had made a name for himself as a womanizer of notorious renown. Among all the young debutantes of Valencia, it was rumored that there was scarcely a soul who had not been courted by the prince on at least one occasion. He continues, and as if nothing would sate him, the prince was also well known in the pleasure district, where he was often seen carousing through the streets in a raucous display ill-befitting his station. In other words, Beltran was scumbag. Mary thinks, if Beltran's honeyed whispers have deceived her into wishing for an annulment, then I would be a fool to accept her request. He clenches his fist. Mary pauses, realizing, the lady may have bought into my scoundrel brother's lies, but I'm not so cruel as to let her suffer for her lack of judgment without first extending a hand in aid. It would be a gentleman's duty, no more, no less. Suddenly, Mary spots Elodie across the room. Wait, isn't that? Meanwhile, Beltran is laying on the charm, telling Elodie, I'd been hoping for a moment to make your acquaintance properly, Lady Elodie. It seems Ishtar herself has blessed us tonight. She laughed and said, Haha. Enchanted, Your Highness. Elodie, though, is less than thrilled. Feels more like a curse to me. Beltran continues, Are you a patron of the opera, Lady Elodie? I'd be honored to escort you sometime. Elodie replies with a fake smile. Perhaps one day. But she's really thinking, ugh, the day I die, most likely. Beltran is relentless. After that, I could hire out this wonderful restaurant nearby so we can dine in private and enjoy each other's company. Doesn't that sound delightful? In Elodie's mind, she's just screaming. Am I supposed to be impressed? You can dine alone, in hell. Elodie realizes. The fact that Beltran approached me first could only mean one thing, namely that Hector has already told him everything I confided in him. She thinks, now that I'm aware of his treachery, I have no interest in the second prince whatsoever, except now. He's more interested in me than ever. She mentally yells, why won't he take the hint and leave me alone? Beltran thinks, how bold of her to break off her betrothal on my account. He's clearly loving this attention. I wonder what my haughty brother would make of that. How amusing it would be to see Duke Perdia's reaction too. He smirks. Haha. Just look at this timid little flower. He continues to press Elodie. I must say, my brother is a heartless rogue. I, for one, wouldn't dream of leaving such a beautiful lady alone at a ball. What do you say, Lady Elodie? He leans in close. Elodie internally groans. Beltran says, I will grant you the honor of sharing a dance with me. But suddenly, a stern voice calls out, Elodie. Both Elodie and Beltran turn in shock. It's Duke Sylvester. Elodie thinks. Father. The Duke declares, I presume this conversation is done, and since my daughter and I have something to discuss, I shall take her with me. He raises his hand. Come, Elodie. Beltran stammers. Oh, Lady Elodie. Elodie thinks. Coming. She wonders. I wonder what father wants. It's exceedingly rare for him to seek me out at a social function. Duke Sylvester grabs Elodie's arm, pulling her away. Elodie is stunned. Is this a dream? She wonders. She pinched her cheek. Oh well. That stings. This is most certainly not a dream. The scene shifts to a balcony, the cool night air a stark contrast to the crowded ballroom. Elodie nervously asks, Father, is there something you'd like to say to me? Sylvester stares down at her. Elodie turns to face him. Why, yes? She thinks. Even the way he says my name has me on edge. Sylvester continues. You'd do well to keep the second prince at arm's length, Elodie replies. Oh. I had no intention to the contrary. He happened to strike up a conversation, and I was only being polite in return, Sylvester says. Good. The prince's penchant for debauchery is an open secret. I suggest you keep well away from him at social occasions and ignore any letters he might send. Elodie reassures him. Of course, Father, you needn't worry. But then she pauses, thinking. Worry? About what? Father, could it be that you were worried on my behalf? She looks up at him hopefully. Sylvester remains silent. Elodie thinks. As I thought. His silence tells the tale. He then said, Perhaps I was. She asked tentatively. Perhaps you were, Father? Sylvester finally relents. I agreed that I was concerned. Elodie is shocked. Concerned? About me? Sylvester sighs. How many times must I repeat myself? Elodie thinks. The face of a concerned parent. But she quickly realizes. If he is worried about me, I certainly couldn't tell by his expression. Besides, whether it's true or not, once he discovers that I'm not his daughter by blood, he'll kill me without a moment's hesitation. She steels herself. Father, may I confide something in you? Sylvester replies. You may. Elodie begins. I realize this may sound ridiculous, like some fanciful story that I've made up for attention, but you should be wary of your aid, Mr. Errol, she thinks. Every favor I do in aid of House Perdia contributes to my own safety. It's an insurance of sorts. Sylvester is taken aback. What? Elodie continues in her thoughts. If the Duke is able to weed out the traitors in his service, it'll be sure to help me in the future as well. Besides, I suppose it's my way of thanking him for raising me. Meanwhile, back in the ballroom, the ladies mutter seeing two handsome guys. Carl and Yancey stood there chatting with each other. Carl is ranting to Yancey. Did you see that shameless display, Yancey? I'm telling you, it's high time we had a physician check Elodie's head. Yancey warns him. Lower your voice, Carl. Carl continues. Admit it, you thought the same. Why in her Kala's name would she cast herself at the second prince like that? No debutante with her head screwed on straight would act that way in public. Yancey interjects. It was His Highness who threw himself in Lily's path, not the other way around. Carl scoffs. TSK. What difference does that make? You know she can't be let loose in high society. What will you do if she embarrasses us all with yet more of her usual shenanigans? Yancey simply says. Carl. Suddenly, Yancey's blessing activates due to the stress. He said. Oh dear, I do believe I've triggered my blessing from the stress. Perhaps you ought to keep your incessant whining to yourself, It would be a shame to erase something else from existence. He gives Carl a menacing smile. Meanwhile, Elodie stands near a window, sighing to herself. I certainly didn't expect Duke Perdia to be the one to rescue me from Prince Beltran's advances. She figures her work for the day is done, and she can retire to the manor. Suddenly, Adamiri appears, all smiles. Ah, there you are, Lady Elodie. May I have the honor of sharing a dance with you? Elodie thinks. Oh, sure enough. I'd forgotten all about the Crown Prince, she tells him. I'm terribly sorry, Your Highness, but I fear I've exhausted myself entirely for the evening. She wonders why everyone's acting so differently all of a sudden. It's not like they cared about her feelings before, she said. As a matter of fact, I was just about to head home for the night. Oh, what a pity. Take my hand. There's something I must discuss with you. He reaches for her, and Elodie flinches. Yet another pushy prince. She thinks annoyed. Adamiri raises an eyebrow. Care to explain that look of sheer disgust? Elodie feigns innocence as he clasps her hand. Gosh, I don't know what you mean, he said. Never mind then. Then they enters in the crowd. Everyone was dancing with their partners. They begin to dance, surrounded by other couples. Adamiri leans in. Lady Elodie, you made a request to break off our betrothal, did you not? Elodie confirms. I did, she thinks. Why does he ask? Has he had a change of heart, perhaps? But Adamiri drops a bomb. Indeed, yet I'm afraid I must refuse. Elodie is shocked. Refuse? But why? Adamiri said. This betrothal of ours is proving to be rather useful. Elodie's eyes widen. Did he just say, useful, Lady Elodie? Adamiri asks. Suddenly, Elodie stomps on his foot hard. Adamiri staggers back. Oh, Lady Elodie. Beaming, Elodie apologizes profusely. Oh, I do beg your pardon, Your Highness. How frightfully clumsy of me. Did I hurt you by any chance? Adamiri grits his teeth. Not at all. I scarcely felt a thing. 2 days pass after the Emperor's birthday banquet, and Elodie is in bed reading a gossip magazine. She thinks, our betrothal is a union of convenience, it's true. But how dare he speak of me like I'm some tool to be used? She recalls stepping on his foot several times. 1,000 pardons, I'm utterly useless on the dance floor. Flipping through the magazine, she thinks, what a bother that the Crown Prince is so adamantly opposed to an annulment. Does he not see that breaking off the betrothal early would benefit us both? Fine, let him come crying to me for an annulment once he falls head over heels for Estelle. Suddenly, her maid Martha rushes in, startling her. My lady. Elodie looks up, surprised. Good heavens, Martha. What is it? Martha exclaims. Have you done it again? Elodie stutters. Done what? Is it a crime to make mincemeat of the Crown Prince's foot? Martha is exasperated. I hear you stuttering, my lady. You know what you've done. Why else would Madame Duchess want to see you in her garden? Elodie gasps. Madame Duchess? She called for me? Martha confirms. That's what I said. She's expecting you in the greenhouse presently, Elodie thinks. My first memory of Lady Demi's wasn't a particularly fond one. A flashback shows a young Elodie, sick in bed. I was a sickly young girl who was bawling her eyes out from a fever or something of the like, and there was no one around to take care of me except for the Duchess. The Duchess sits silently by her bed, gazing at her with a dispassionate look, devoid of all emotion. It was as if she saw no life in me at all. Back in the present, Elodie walks through the greenhouse. To this day, she unnerves me because of that memory, although I'm glad I put aside my fear for the lucrative arrangement we have. She notices the Duchess isn't there yet. Speaking of which, she's nowhere to be seen. Where could she be? I hope she won't mind me looking around until she returns. She admires the flowers. Oh, how lovely! What a charming little flower. I wonder what it's called. She reaches out to touch one. A voice cuts through the air. Another inch closer, and that charming little flower will tear your arm clean off your shoulder. Elodie gasps and flinches, turning to see the Duchess standing behind her. And Madame Duchess! The Duchess explains. The Halcaria plant is a carnivorous plant, a rare species that feeds on human prey. It lures unsuspecting humans with its striking features and intoxicating pollen, then devours them down to the bones. Elodie is horrified. The Duchess says, You really ought to be more cautious, Elodie. Elodie apologizes. I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't know. How could something so dainty devour a whole person? The Duchess replies. Of course you didn't know. It was only recently discovered on an uninhabited island off the coast of the Dvei Kingdom. She gestures to a nearby table. Would you care to sit? I would, yes. Elodie replies. The Duchess pours tea. Here, some chilled tea to calm your nerves. Elodie takes the cup. Oh, how thoughtful of you. Thank you, ma'am. Meanwhile, she thinks, I certainly could use something cool to drink after the fright she gave me. She quickly drinks the entire cup. The Duchess observes her. Duchess asks, Is that an empty cup I spy? Elodie gasps, realizing she drank it all. Should I have left some? She thinks, I drank down the entire cup before I even knew it. Well, she's the one who offered me a drink. I'm not quite sure why she's asking. Elodie thinks nervously. The Duchess says, No, it's just that my guests don't often drink the tea I serve without so much as a second glance. Oh. Elodie realizes. Given that Madame Demis is a poisonsmith by trade, I imagine someone who only knows her by reputation might suspect that she would serve poison in her tea. Not that I had any such doubts, knowing that my death won't come for another 3 years at least. But I'll only make it harder to escape this household if I reveal that I know more than I let on, she says nervously. I must have been parched from this unseasonable heat. The Duchess raises an eyebrow. So parched that you'd forego your instinct for self-preservation? Elodie then said, not to mention the delicious fragrance. But the Duchess said, the tea I served has no scent. Ugh, come on, Elodie. Think of something to say, she thinks. Oh, she said. If you must know, it's because you're my trusted business partner. Duchess is confused. Your partner, Elodie said. Precisely. I had a feeling I impressed you with what I can do. Might I hazard a guess that my antidote has been approved for sale then? I thought that might be the reason why you wished to see me, she continues. And if we're to work together, I very much doubt you'd poison your own partner. Duchess agrees. I suppose you're right, Elodie. The Duchess smiles. You're wise beyond your years. She pauses, her expression turning serious. That being said, Why would that be a good enough reason to assume you're safe from my poison? Duchess said. To put your mind at ease, no, I did not tinker with your cup of tea. But I do think it would be prudent for you to develop a more cynical streak. For now, however, I commend you on your discernment, she continues. And if I had a mind to poison you in earnest, I wouldn't have been so brazen as to dose your tea while we're sitting face to face. One doesn't get very far in this line of work without being discreet. Besides, I should think I can find more inventive ways to assassinate someone. Wouldn't you agree? Elodie trembles and stammers. I dare say you could, Madam Duchess, Duchess reveals. As you guessed, the sales permit has been authorized for the antidote you brewed. Our entire initial stock has been put on the market for an advance payment. It's only a modest sum this time, given the small amount we supplied. Still, it's yours. You may go over the income and outgoings in the ledger, if you'd like. Elodie is overwhelmed and sparkles. Thank you, Madam Duchess then asks. If you don't mind, I have another request to make of you. Supposing that I'd like to order another batch of antidote, how long would you say it'll take? And would you object if I were to make an offer for the recipe? Elodie hesitates. Well, I'm afraid it's something of a trade secret. Duchess responds coolly. Is that so? That's a pity. You see, I have a selection of new lethal toxins in their final stages. Do you suppose you might be able to craft counteragents for them as well? Elodie sighs. I could, but the stronger the poison, the trickier and more time-consuming it is for me to make an antidote. Meanwhile, she thinks, the truth is that I'd prefer not to, since I would be in a lot of pain throughout the process. To cleanse a poison, I have to first drink it myself. And even with my blessing, I still suffer the poison's excruciating effects in full. Elodie continues. On that note, ma'am, I'd hoped to speak to you on the matter of keeping our agreement a secret. May I rely on you to continue on your discretion in that regard? Duchess bristles. Why, do you take me for some venomous old snake who thinks nothing of betraying my word? Elodie backpedals. And not at all. That's not what I meant. But Duchess cuts her off. You have nothing to worry about, Elodie. I gave you my word and I intend to keep it, no matter what. After all, we're partners, aren't we? Elodie pauses, thinking. We are partners. Then she said, Indeed we are, she thinks, even if she likely meant little by it. And I couldn't have asked for a better one. As a Perdia by name only with no true claim to the family bloodline, the word, we, was as sweet as it was alien to my ears. Later, Elodie is walking outside when she overhears someone say, Throw this wretch into the cells below. She sees a man kneeling, surrounded by guards with swords. The man cries, Why, your grace! I must protest. I've done nothing but serve you and House Perdia faithfully with full devotion. How could you? A sword is pointed at him. A voice booms. Bite your traitor's tongue. There is full evidence that condemns you as the second prince's spy in our midst. The kneeling man shouts. No, it's not true. It's a conspiracy. That devious philanderer of a prince wants nothing more than to sow discord under our roof, your grace. This is his foul work, she thinks. I must say, I wasn't expecting such fine entertainment on the way back from the Duchess's garden. An award-winning performance from the double agent, the Duke asks. The prince's foul work, you say? We then see the kneeling man getting thrown into a cell. He cries out, Your grace! Eek, spare me, your grace. Mercy. Have mercy, Elodie thinks. Ugh, he may be a turncoat, but I have no desire to watch a helpless man die. It doesn't help that this feels like a dark omen for my own future. I should head back to the guest house. Suddenly, Duke Sylvester calls out, Elodie Perdia. Elodie jumps, startled. Why yes, father? The Duke asks. Why do you sound so shocked? One might even suspect you of acting guilty, Elodie cries. She guilty? Why, I've done nothing wrong. Not yet anyway. The Duke's eye gleams menacingly as he says. Not yet, Elodie, now sweating, says. And I never will. Cross my heart and hope to die, Duke Sylvester replies. Enough. Compose yourself and come with me, Elodie. I have something to say to you. Elodie rushes after him. Coming, father, Elodie thinks. When he told me to come with him, I assumed we were headed to his office. But instead, the Duke leads her to his bedchamber. Elodie wonders. But this is the Duke's bedchamber. What are we doing here? The Duke tosses his coat on the bed and tells her. Take a seat. Elodie nervously sits down as the Duke asks. How did you know? She replies. You mean, about Mr. Herold? Long story short, I happened to run into him in the manor hallway before the Emperor's birthday banquet. Meanwhile, she thinks, it's only half a lie, I suppose. He doesn't need to know any more than that. She continues, and when we parted, Mr. Herold seemed to be under the most peculiar misunderstanding. The Duke asks. A misunderstanding, you say? Elodie continues. Yes, he thought I was in love with the second prince. The Duke's grip tightens on the chair. In love? With whom? Elodie, panicking, says. I couldn't believe it either. How ludicrous to think that I'd have any affections whatsoever for that rake. In any case, I couldn't find the moment to correct him at the time. Then I was approached by the second prince at the banquet. I sensed that something was amiss, so I thought it best to warn you, father. The Duke leans in and says, I see. That certainly explains it, Elodie thinks. Phew, I'm glad that did the trick. I thought I was about to have a heart attack. The Duke then states, with all these vermin leading double lives under my own roof, I mean to purge them and their foul influence at once. You should refrain from leaving the guest house until I deem it safe, Elodie. Elodie thinks to herself, if only he knew that I'm literally leading a double life. Aloud, she says, I'll keep that in mind, father. The Duke then surprises her by saying, Elodie, I'm not so proud as to deny that you were instrumental in identifying the traitor. As such, name one request and I shall grant it as your reward. Elodie's eyes widen as she thinks. This is my chance. I never thought father would give me a reward for being a snitch. If I had my way, I would have him swear to me that he will not take my life under any circumstances. In that case, I'd be grateful if you could grant me my freedom again, father. But this isn't the time yet, the Duke asks. Is that all you could think to ask? Elodie replies. Of course. What else could I possibly want? She thinks. Operation appear as harmless as possible. The Duke says. Very well, you may have your freedom once more. Elodie celebrates, but then the Duke adds, but in return, you will abide by one condition. Elodie gulps, wondering what that condition could be. Elodie's father agrees to let her leave the house, but there's a catch, of course. But in return, you will abide by one condition. He imagines she'll be eager to get out, and Elodie confirms she is looking forward to it. But then her father drops a bomb. Good, I'm sure your chaperone will be as well. Yancy or Carlet? Take your pick, girl. Elodie is floored. A chaperone? She pleads with her father. Father, do I really have no choice but to have one of my brothers join me wherever I go? Surely a household knight would do. But Daddy dearest is firm. Prince Beltran may approach you again whenever he sees fit. A household knight would not have the authority to bar his path. Elodie is conflicted, trying to decide which brother to pick. But then she has an epiphany. Father, I've made my choice. She thinks, I take it back, one is more than enough. I can't handle both. Her father is pleased. Excellent. I knew you'd see sense. Now, who would you prefer to have as your chaperone? Elodie smirks, knowing she's won this round. Well, since you insist. Cut to Carlet, looking absolutely horrified. What? Why on earth would I go anywhere with you? Elodie crosses her arms, unimpressed. Hasn't father told you anything? He's her chaperone. Carlet is clearly not happy. Why, you're telling me that wasn't father's strange attempt at deadpan humor? Elodie gives him a death stare. Of course not, he's humorless. Well? Do you refuse? Carlet throws a fit. Damn right I do. I'd rather die. But Elodie isn't backing down. Have it your way then. I'm off to inform father. Oh, Carlet knows he's been played. Time to cause some drama. He grabs her hand, and Elodie turns to him, feigning innocence. Was there something else? Carlet grits his teeth and says, Fine. She asked, I'm sorry? He continues, I said I'll come with you, damn it, but you'd better not tell father that I grumbled. Swear on your life. And so, Elodie and Carlet hit the town together. They walk through the streets. Ha, what a colossal waste of time this is. Carlet complains. Elodie chuckles to herself. Honestly, Carlet's a hothead. But he's so much easier to deal with than a riddle like Yancy. Carlet is still whining. Where's your personal maid, anyhow? Isn't this her duty? What's a duke's daughter without servants? Elodie explains that Martha has other errands, and besides, I figured, as long as I have you with me, Carl, I won't need anybody else. Carlet is flustered. And what's that supposed to mean? Elodie teases. Not everything I say has a double meaning, you know. Elodie thinks about Carlet's abilities. He may not be as powerful as Yancy, but Carlet possesses the blessing of destruction as a direct descendant of House Perdia. His blessing? The ability to sunder the earth. From tiny cracks to chasms, he can create rifts in the ground at will. It's a destructive blessing suited to full-scale battles, which means it rarely gets to shine in times of peace. Even so, Carlet cherishes his blessing with pride, and he has a talent for swordsmanship, rivaling full-grown knights, he said. Well, I suppose you couldn't ask for a finer bodyguard, Elodie thinks. Though I do have some doubts as to his intellect. I won't be losing any sleep over it on his account. Ahem. Carlet interrupts. Hey, where is it we're going exactly? Elodie smiles sweetly. As you can see, this street is lined with dressmakers' boutiques. I mean to browse every single one. Carlet is appalled. What? Why didn't you just summon them to the manor instead? Why traipse all the way here like a peasant? Elodie just smirks. I have my reasons. You'll see, she asks. You've heard of Blanco Blanc, I presume? I've been dying to sample the chocolate fondant there. Bring me some, would you? Carlet is incredulous. Me? You brought me all the way here to buy you some silly chocolate cake? But Elodie is unfazed, among other things. Run along now, Carlet scoffs. I'm no fool. I've heard people queue for hours because of how popular it is. Are you telling me to wait in line for Ishtar knows how long? This is absurd, he complains. You know, you really could have had the servants do this for you instead. Elodie shrugs. No one's forcing you, Carl. I would hate for you to feel that I backed you into a corner. That being said, what's the alternative, I wonder? Carlet asks. The alternative to what? Elodie replies. I'm asking you how you'd feel about Father hearing of your disobedience. You didn't think he would let you off lightly when you disobeyed a direct order, did you? She smiles, knowing she's won. Elodie continues. I do worry as to how he might take the news. Elodie continues. Why, he destroyed a perfectly good armchair just the other day, all because I misspoke. I shudder to think what he might break next. Still, no need to fret on that front, Carl. I'll make sure to put in a good word with Father on your behalf, though I doubt my word carries much weight with him these days. Carlet sighs. Fine. Is that all you want? A chocolate fondue or whatever it's called? Elodie beams. Yes. It's a chocolate fondant. Don't forget, Carl. Hee. Like taking fondant from a baby. At the bakery, the display shows different sweets, and a long line of ladies waiting for their turns. While Carl waits in line, ladies whispers. By the 7 virtues, now there's a sight you don't see every day. Thank my lucky stars I fancied a treat today. The customers are whispering about him. Isn't it just adorable that Duke Perdia's fiery second son has a secret love for desserts? What a lovely surprise. One of them is definitely simping. If only he'd look this way. Carlet clenches his fist, annoyed by the attention. Damn it, the indignity of it all. Finally, it's his turn. And my lord? What can I do for you? The shopkeeper asks. Carlet stutters. I'll take a fondue? Fondue? The shopkeeper corrects him. A chocolate fondant, you mean? Certainly. How many would you like? The ladies are giggling. Did you hear that? A fondue? What a cutie! Most likely Lord Carlet's never had to order for himself. Then it's decided. At the next banquet, let's treat him to all the desserts he has yet to try, Carl said in serious tone. Pack your entire stock and have it sent to the Perdia Manor. The shopkeeper is terrified. Why yes, my lord, Carlet adds. And I'll take 1 box to go. Then he went to a boutique and shouts. Hey! Elodie, the lady exclaims. Goodness, welcome to my boutique, Lord Carlet. Carlet, holding his box of fondant, asks. Pardon my intrusion. Where is my sister? The lady replies. Lady Elodie, my lord? She told me she had an errand to run and left some time ago. Carlet demands. How long ago, exactly? The lady stammers. Well. It's been almost 2 hours already. Carlet's eyes widen in alarm. What? Elodie's skipping through the sunlit gardens, remarking on how lovely the day is. But oh no! Disaster strikes. Oh, fiddlesticks! I've left my parasol at the boutique. She's kicking herself for forgetting it, especially since she just gave Carlet the slip. She figures even that airhead will notice she's missing soon, though his pride will probably keep him from ratting her out to the Duke right away. Elodie decides to play it cool and just tell the Duke she went to a nearby tea house. She then reached at Mage's Tower, where everyone was wearing cloaks. She was amazed and she thinks, so, this is the Western Tower of Mages. This is my first time seeing it in person. Inside, Elodie strides confidently toward a clerk, her heels clicking on the floor. Pardon me, good sir. Can I trouble you with an inquiry? The clerk looks up. Oh, certainly. How may I be of service? Elodie gets straight to the point. Well, I was hoping to put down an investment into a project of the tower. She pauses, wondering. Did I come to the wrong place? The clerk's caught off guard, but quickly recovers. If you're an investor then, suddenly, realization dawns on him. Wait, an investment? Elodie confirms it. That's right. I wish to invest. Is there a problem? Suddenly with the sound of whoosh a chair appears under Elodie. Problem? Hardly. The clerk is practically vibrating with excitement. A problem? Quite the opposite. I must beg your pardon for this paltry welcome. He's already conjuring tea. Please, tell me your favorite tea and I shall conjure it right away, he adds with a flourish. Viva capitalism! Elodie's taken aback by the sudden shift. That was a swift change of attitude, she said. Whatever you're pouring will suffice, thank you. The clerk, still buzzing, gets down to business. Now, my lady, have you had any thoughts on which project you'll invest in? He pitches the tower's gold mining stake, asking if it piques her interest. Elodie considers. Well, not that I'm opposed to investing in gold, but I was told that I can invest in an individual mage as a patron of sorts. The clerk is impressed. I see you've done your research. Do you have a specific name in mind, perhaps? Elodie doesn't hesitate. Yes, she declares with unwavering certainty. I'd like to invest my entire budget into the mage named Elodie. The clerk freezes, his cheerful facade cracking. But we have much better investment products on offer. Might I persuade you to reconsider your options, my lady? But Elodie is unshakable. No need. I've made up my mind. 8,000 larets. She's all in. I'd like every penny of it invested into Mage Elodie. It's not that I don't appreciate his trepidation, Elodie thinks, holding her teacup. He probably thinks I'm a fool to invest so heavily in a mage with no feathers in his cap, but he wouldn't understand her real reason. Because she knows the future. She knows Elodie will invent an arcane artifact that becomes wildly popular, earning him riches beyond imagination. In other words, she thinks, I have a foolproof investment plan with guaranteed returns. It's a good thing Ga-eul was a total nerd for world-building lore. The clerk, resigned, tells her. Very well then. All that remains is for you to give the contract a once-over and sign it at the bottom. Elodie takes the offered quill, thinking. A magic contract using my real name might create a paper trail for my pursuers to follow once I flee Perdia Manor. I ought to use a pseudonym. Aha! I'll take my nickname Lily as the first name, and as for the surname, aha, I've got one, she thinks. Once the contract is signed, clerk says, I'd like to verify that everything is in order, she said. Of course. Here it is, he said. Yes, that should do very nicely. Congratulations, you're now officially an investor of the Western Tower of Mages. May your investment bring you good fortune, Lady Lily Arkell. Now that her money's in good hands, Elodie feels a sense of relief. Now that my money's in good hands, I should have no cause for concern over funds. The antidote sales alone bring in enough coins. But she can't afford to be complacent, especially not when there's no telling how long the Duchess will hold on to her secret. For now, she thinks, I probably ought to hurry on back to Carl. She's sure he'll kick up quite the fuss once she finds him, she thinks. It's enough to give me a headache. Meanwhile, someone was following her. He follows her from couple of minutes. Then he tries to reach her. He was about to grab her while she turns. She gets shocked. Suddenly, she's grabbed. There you are. Elodie's yanked around. Excuse me? I think you have the wrong person. She thinks, good goddess, she thought for a moment that he was Carl. Only to be accosted by a total stranger. He doesn't seem like the typical creep either. If anything, he's quite dashing. He stares intently. She continues in her thoughts. But I think I would remember a face like his. There's no way that we've met before. Elodie's wrist throbs. Ugh, my wrist. What if it's broken? The stranger's voice drops, sending shivers down her spine. On the contrary, I believe you're exactly who I seek, Miss Ga-eul Yun. Elodie's blood runs cold. Who are you? She demands, her eyes wide with fear. For that matter, how do you know that name? He leans in close, his gaze piercing. Elodie Perdia. Just then, Carlet's voice cuts through the air. Carlet. He couldn't have picked a worse time to find her. Elodie knows she has to do something before Carl notices. The mysterious man leans in, whispering in her ear. I promise, I shall come for you before long. What? Wait. Elodie whirls around, but it's too late. With the FSSHHH sound, the stranger vanishes into thin air. He disappeared. She gasps. By Ishtar's grace. Who on earth was that man? She thinks, I feel as though I'd been bewitched in some manner. It was only a fleeting encounter, and yet it's like an eternity passed in a single moment. Suddenly, a hand grabs her arm. Elodie Perdia. It's Carl, looking livid. Have you any idea how dangerous it is to saunter around without a guard? Elodie pulls away, wincing. That hurts. What's gotten into him? Carl scoffs. You'd be a fool to think you're safe on these streets alone. And why do you care? Elodie retorts. Whatever misfortune befalls me out here has naught to do with you. Carl pauses, looking almost hurt. Did he develop a conscience overnight? Elodie wonders. You of all people have no right to look at me that way. Seeing him, she thinks, how absurd. There's no one who wanted me gone as ardently as you did. Carl recalled a moment overhearing two gossiping maids saying, the girl's nothing short of a freak, I tell you. Isn't she just? She's entirely heartless, too, just like her mother. I only hope she doesn't claim the Perdia name. She was born out of wedlock, you know. Surely not. She's no Perdia if she doesn't have a blessing to speak of. Either way, I reckon it's her fault the Duke's been so absent in his duties of late. Per Madam Duchess. Carl overhears this, his fists clenching. Did they just call my sister a bastard? Is that why Mama and Papa haven't been getting along? All because of my sister. He shoves past Elodie, sending her sprawling. She hits into wall and fell down. Ow, that wasn't nice, Carl. Why did you push me? Elodie asks, looking up at him with confusion. The maids rush over, fussing. Master, you really shouldn't be here. Let's take you back to the main house. Carl glares down at Elodie. You're a filthy child of sin. I'm not filthy. I scrub myself clean every day. Elodie protests. No, you're filthy. You're impure by blood. Carl shouts as the maids drag him away. This is all your fault. Everything. You're the reason why Mama and Papa hate each other. Elodie gets shocked. Carl shouts. No one wants you in our home. I wish you'd just disappear. Back in town, Elodie thinks, there's no way in hell he's concerned on my behalf. She bumps into him. If it's father you're worried about, you don't have to fret. I won't breathe a word about this to him, and neither will you. Carl stood silent, not saying a word. Elodie thinks, I was convinced the past wouldn't faze me anymore. But I suppose it can't be helped that trauma has a way of resurfacing when one least expects it. Either way, I have more pressing concerns at hand. The man with raven hair and crimson eyes for one. He knows something about my past life, and I have much to ask him. She then said, I think it's time we headed back. Don't you, Carl? Back at the mansion, Elodie is greeted by a mountain of sweets. Martha said, Good goddess, my lady, what's all this then? Elodie sighs. Desserts, I imagine. Martha asked, Are you going to gorge yourself to death then? Elodie replied, I assure you, I'm in no mood for jests. Elodie thinks, I should have made it clear that one box would suffice. She imagined Carl saying, Give me all your chocolate fondants under the name of House Perdia, having bought out the entire shop. Elodie thinks, damn it, I should have known he'd pull some rich boy move. She tells Martha, Why don't you take them with you? You may share them with the guest house staff. Gasp, Are you sure, my lady? That's so generous of you. Martha exclaims. Elodie is left alone. The man with the crimson eyes. He called me Ga-eul Yun without a shadow of a doubt. She looks in the mirror, seeing her past self. How much does he know about me? And who is he, for that matter? He seemed like a nobleman, the way he carried himself with such grace. Martha, Elodie calls. Yes, my lady? Martha replies, carrying the desserts. Do you know of any gentleman in his early 20s with black hair and red eyes? Martha considers it. Depends, my lady. Is he handsome? I suppose he is. Exceptionally so, in fact. Martha replied. Then I wouldn't know, my lady, Elodie said. Pardon? Have you given it any thought? No idea at all, Martha says. Fine, you've made yourself quite clear. You may go now. Elodie waves her away. If Martha truly hasn't a clue, perhaps he's not a nobleman at all. He did say that he would come to me in time, but I can't afford to twiddle my thumbs and wait. Martha, when did this letter from the Imperial Palace arrive? Elodie asks, picking up the envelope. Martha said, Ack. Where's my head at? It came in the morning, but I forgot to say, Elodie said, of all the things to neglect. Elodie examines the letter. Martha, bring me a pen and paper, would you? I have a reply to write to His Highness. Meanwhile, in a garden, the air filled with fragrance of roses, Yancey asks his aide. Then you were given the slip, I take it? I'm afraid so, my lord. I beg your forgiveness, Yancey said. At the Tower of Mages, no less. He thinks, it's curious that Elodie would have business there in the first place. But what confounds me even more is that this man has no conceivable connection to Elodie, at least as far as I'm aware. He then asked, And you heard nothing of his conversation with Lily either? Regrettably, I did not, my lord. Yancey is suspicious. Lily certainly has changed a lot recently. Not only was she instrumental in uncovering the collusion between Father's aide and the second prince, she's been joining Mother for tea time when she would hardly say a word to her before. As for Father, he had no interest in Lily before, but now he has Carl guarding her like a hound. There's something peculiar at work here, but what that is, I cannot tell. He plucks a rose from its stem, crushing it in his gloved hand. There it goes again, my unruly blessing, Yancey thinks, clenching his fist. I'll have a new pair of gloves brought to you, my lord, his aide says. He said, no need, it's time I headed back inside. You, however, will keep an eye on Lily until ordered otherwise. Yes, Master Yancey, the aide replies. Back inside, Elodie opens another letter. Another letter from the Crown Prince? I thought I'd made it clear that I won't be attending his dinner party, so why? She pauses, reading, by Ishtar. She crumples the letter in her fist, her expression dark. Why won't anyone just leave me alone? Adamiri has arrived at Elodie's doorstep unannounced. I must apologize for showing up unannounced, he says, placing his teacup down delicately. The news of your continued ill health had me worried enough to insist on a visit. Your condition is not as bad as it was, I hope. He gives her a charming smile. Elodie returns the smile. Why, it's much improved, thanks to you, your highness. All because she turned down a few invitations. He just shows up like this? She thinks, being worried about me is surely a pretense. Does he think pretty boy privilege lets him get away with anything? But outwardly, she plays along. Adamiri observes. Yes, you do have more color in your cheeks. Given your good health, I see no reason why you won't be attending this evening's soiree, of course. Elodie, completely caught off guard, asks, pardon? Attending what, your highness? Her eyes widen as he drops the bomb. This evening's soiree, of course. Your father himself invited me, as it happens. Your entire family shall be there. I should think you're expected as well, unless you decide to feign another illness. Elodie's internally screaming. No, I don't want to. And so, against her will, Elodie finds herself at the dreaded family dinner. And yet, here I am. I feel like I could choke on every bite. She thinks, nibbling cautiously as Duke Sylvester starts the family business. I hear news of House Angelos, that they mean to commence full production of military supplies soon. Yancey chimes in. I hear the same, father. I suppose their recent dealings with the Southern Tower of Mages has them manufacturing Magitech implements already. I'm also told they've been snapping up the rights to every Magicite mine they can find for their enchanted armor production. Elodie's mind races. House Angelos. If I remember correctly, that's one of the 4 great houses, whose blessing is that of restoration. And its leader, Lord Rodrigo Angelos. A man whose sole interest in life is to maximize his family's wealth and glory. He was single-minded in his ultimate goal, to subjugate all other noble houses under the banner of House Angelos. And the biggest obstacle to his ambitions? None other than Duke Sylvester Perdia. Duke Sylvester continues. I foresee no threat to us on that front, though I imagine it may present a pinch in the supply of materials in the long run. His wife, Lady Demise, suggests. Then why not purchase mines of our own, my dear? Won't it help to secure a supply line while we can? But Adamiri interrupts. I'm afraid that won't be possible, Lady Demise. House Angelos has beaten you to the punch. Their claim over the vast majority of Magicite mines is all but a done deal. To challenge their market dominance now would be a fruitless endeavor. Elodie thinks to herself. He's not wrong that it'll all be in vain. Mines or not, House Angelos' downfall is set in stone. Magicite stone, at that. Oh, and what a brutal downfall it is, too. Looks like another common victory for House Perdia, but Elodie thinks. There are levels to this game. Sometimes it's rather entertaining to know the future. Our house may be in rough waters for a while, but in the end, Yancey will take care of it all. Duke Sylvester suddenly breaks the silence. Elodie. She paused eating. Startled, Elodie responds. Yes, father? She thinks, goodness, he caught me off guard, he said. I would care to hear your thoughts on the matter. Elodie panics internally. And me? Why me? For all he knows, I should have nothing to contribute. Or has he read my mind somehow? Before she can answer, Yancey cuts in. Father, I hardly think Lily would want to speak on such a dense subject at the dinner table. Sylvester's glare is intense. I did not ask you to speak. He stabs his fork into his food. Forgive me, father. I spoke out of turn, Yancey says quietly. Turning back to Elodie, Duke Sylvester says, Elodie, you may give your opinion freely. Elodie weighs her options. Rather than make a show of my ignorance, perhaps it would be best to score points with the Duke. Not that I have no sympathy for Yancey, but I have to put my own survival first. Adamiri looks at Elodie, intrigued. Lady Elodie, she said, I believe there is another way. The Duke raises an eyebrow. Indeed? And what would that be? Elodie explains. House Angelos has bought up almost every mine in the Empire, essentially achieving a monopoly. They may be one of Valencia's founding houses, but such a vast undertaking is sure to have drained their coffers. And if they're in the business of monopoly, I suggest we do the same. Carl scoffs. Haven't you been listening at all? You said it yourself, House Angelos already has most of the mines in their pockets. Elodie smirks. Of course, it's not the magicite mines I speak of. After all, the magicite stones aren't the only materials needed to manufacture military equipment. It's simple. We buy up every other material needed. It hasn't been long since House Angelos tossed their hat into the ring to partake in the arms industry, so I doubt they have many suppliers for anything other than magicite yet. In time, they'll have no choice but to strike a deal with House Perdia, at which point the materials can be sold to them at a steep margin. Duke Sylvester nods, impressed. Demi said, I applaud your acumen, Elodie. Elodie replies, Thank you, Madam Duchess. She thinks it's actually an idea of Yancey's from the novel that I've stolen as my own, but I must say, how thrilling. Elodie thinks, Is this how smart people feel all the time? This wine pairs perfectly with nefarious scheming. Adamiri is surprised, thinking, Was the Duke's daughter always such a shrewd businesswoman? One would think she's a different person altogether from the way she used to be. All those suspicious potions that I saw in her chamber, not to mention her strange unease within her own home. His expression darkens. What exactly is Lady Elodie hiding? Someone is furious, slamming their hand down on the desk. What did you say? What do you mean we no longer have a supply chain? Apparently, House Perdia bought up every mine in the Bremen region. It's not just that, my lord. House Perdia has also purchased every mine in the Bremen region. We have no one to deal with but the Perdias, and just like that, their enterprise is hanging by a thread. This is a trap. If that infernal Duke holds a monopoly over the rest of the materials, he'll charge me an arm and a leg for the privilege of dealing with him. Then our enterprise has no choice but to fold. Foiled by that brat Yancey Perdia, no doubt. In fact, my lord, according to our informant, the idea did not come from his first son Yancey Perdia, but his daughter, Lady Elodie Perdia. The news hits hard. What? And you're certain of this? He's told. I'm afraid so, my lord. He thinks, but I thought his daughter is not but a useless love child who does not even possess a blessing. But it seems she has the Perdia knack for scheming at least. Well, we shall nip that in the bud, won't we? House Angelos announces sudden withdrawal from arms trade. Magicite mines up for sale with no buyers in sight. Cut to Elodie, looking pleased. I'll bet that moneygrubber's furious by now. She's been manipulating events from behind the scenes. This was a plot point that would be resolved much further down the line in the original novel, but I brought it to an early conclusion based on what I know of future events. It's not exactly ideal that I had to steal Yancey's idea, but oh well. I gotta look out for myself. But something feels off. More importantly, something seems amiss here. Why does it feel as though there are fewer potion bottles here than before? Have I counted them wrong, I wonder? Suddenly someone knocked at the door and she said, Come in. One of the staff enters. My lady, your lord father commands your presence on the matter of House Angelos, Elodie replies. Oh, does he? She thinks Sugg, then crafting antidotes will have to wait yet again. Duke Sylvester is already waiting, reading a newspaper headline about House Angelos withdrawing from the arms trade. Wow, it made headlines quickly. The journalists of Valencia must do exceptionally fine work. Wouldn't you agree, Elodie? Haha, quite so, father. Elodie thinks. Headlines that he himself fed to them, without a doubt. I expected Yancey and Carl to be here for this discussion as well, considering that this affair was their responsibility to begin with. So, why am I the only one here? Traitors. She then asks aloud. You summoned me, father? Duke Sylvester continues. Why? Is that a problem? Elodie nervously replies. I am sorry. No. Not in the slightest. It's just that. Relax, Elodie. I called you here to reward you for your aid. I believe this is the second time I benefited from your sage advice of late, Elodie said. Oh, you flatter me, father. A lucky guess is all. Meanwhile she thinks, never mind that I've read all the spoilers, unfortunately for Yancey. He then said, luck had naught to do with it. Elodie thinks. Oops, was I too self-deprecating? No wonder he's suspicious, given that I've never once shown an interest in the family business. But if I hadn't spoken up for myself in that moment, I would have only disappointed the Duke as usual. It's better this way. But she's troubled. But why the sudden interest? First, he summons me on matters that ordinarily wouldn't concern me. Then he has one of his precious sons escort me wherever I go. Neither of these actions are like him at all. After all those years he couldn't stand the sight of me and banished me to the guest house. Elodie asks, Father, there is something that I must ask. Duke Sylvester replies. Very well. Speak, she asked. Why did you ask for my opinion in the first place? You've never once cared for me at all. Hearing this he flinched. Elodie thinks, I can't recall a single time he asked how I feel, ever since the day I was born. Not once. Duke Sylvester seems taken aback. It's simple. The woman you are now seemed capable of rising to the occasion. Elodie jolts. She thinks, the woman I am now, is he comparing me to the entitled brat that I was before? Or has he noticed something else? Duke Sylvester says. There's no hiding how you've changed in recent times, Elodie. And for the record, I may not have shown it, but it's patently untrue that I never cared for you. As you know, I put up a sterner demeanor than I mean to. If I've kept you at an arm's length, it was only to keep from frightening you to tears. There was not a moment where I did not care for you, Elodie. Elodie thinks. Don't buy into his saccharine words, because the very moment he learns that I'm not even his illegitimate child by blood, he'll put me to the sword without a moment's hesitation. Even so, if I can speak up for my true desire, just this once. Elodie steels herself. Duke Sylvester says, tell me what would make a fitting reward. I shall grant you anything within my power, Elodie answers. In that case, father, I would like to hear you praise me. I want to feel loved, if only for a fleeting moment. Duke Sylvester reaches out and pats Elodie on the head. He said, you did well. Elodie chokes up, tears welling in her eyes. I'm proud of you, Elodie. The door opens and she left. While leaving, Carl sees her. He said, oh, you again? What do you think you're doing outside father's? But she ignores him. He turns and said, don't ignore me. Carl grabs her arm. I won't have you treat me like I'm invisible. That hurts, Carl. Please let go. He yanks her around. Wait, your eyes. Why were you crying? Did father punish you for something? What did you do this time? Elodie fumes. Like I said before, it doesn't concern you. Keep your head down and mind your own business, Carl. You know, as you've always done. Carl stammers. Hey, I'm just... Was there something else? Elodie asks coldly. Carl splutters. Huh. If you think I'm asking because I care about you, you must be delusional. I'm only wary of the shame you'll bring on House Perdia if anyone sees you in this state. On your own head, be it if you're the cause of some unseemly rumors about our family. She thinks, I'm sure there's a word for this character type. He then said, you'd better not be wandering around gormlessly like this tonight. Just stay in your room. Elodie thinks. Tonight? Carl exclaims. Oh, come on. Don't tell me you've forgotten? Elodie thinks. That's right. Today must be the day. In truth, I had forgotten what a turning point tonight will be. The night of the lunar eclipse. Once every 3 years, there comes a night when the moon is devoured by the darkness. It was on this night that Elodie Perdia lost all semblance of control. Once every 3 years, a total eclipse of the moon shrouds the earth in stifling darkness. Devoid of celestial light, the realm of mortals becomes engulfed in the abyssal aura of Virkala, the goddess of the underworld, forcing the imperial household and the 4 great houses to lose their grip on Ishtar's blessings. Not that it affects every great house the same, however, though Elodie's blessing of cleansing has little to do with the frenzy of the lunar eclipse. The destructive blessings of House Perdia are a different matter altogether. After all, it was 3 years ago today that they literally blew the roof off the manor. Kaboom! And my lady, Martha cries out. I thought you said the guest house was safe, she exclaims, trembling. Master Carl will have the entire estate in ruins at this rate. Back then, it was Carlet who went berserk and nearly destroyed the manor. In the novel, Carl just about managed to keep control of his blessing, but the problem is, she then reached at the garden where she finds Yancy. Aha, I had a feeling you'd be here, Elodie Perdia. Elodie appears, holding her lantern. Though Yancy was regarded by all those around him to be well and truly capable of handling his blessing, his actual hold over his blessing of eradication was, in truth, far weaker than it seemed. Each night of the lunar eclipse, he would hide in his mother's garden and suffer the pain alone. What are you doing here? Yancy demands. 6 years ago, in her childhood ignorance, Elodie had no notion of how dangerous it was to wander the estate on the night of the eclipse, and happened to come across Yancy as she strolled through the garden. Get lost! He'd yelled at her. Be brother? Elodie had stammered. Leave me alone! Flinching, little Elodie cried, I am sorry! And turned and fled in fear and shame. But not this time. Brother? Elodie asks, leaning in close. I couldn't quite tell from the dark. Are you alright? Yancy groans. By all rights, it's Estelle who should shine in Yancy's hour of need like a dazzling ray of sunshine, comforting him in her warm embrace and scoring major female lead points, but Elodie means to steal the limelight from her. Go away, Elodie, Yancy hisses, crouching low. Elodie thinks. I seem to recall a passage saying that Estelle hugged Yancy close and patted him on the back. At any moment, she could have fallen victim to Yancy's deadly blessing. The novel said it was Estelle's selflessness that finally opened Yancy's heart. And if that's all it takes for him to open up, Elodie pats him on the back. It's all right. There's nothing to be scared of, Yancy. What difference would it make that he's in my arms and not Estelle's? She said while patting. Everything's going to be just fine. He felt relieved. Then, leave me alone, Yancy mumbles, slumping forward. I wish you'd disappear. All in good time, dear brother. I'll be out of your face soon enough. On that note, how long must I stay like this? Surely not even Estelle could lend her shoulder for the entire night. He then leans on her and fell asleep for a moment. Then he wakes up blinking his eyes. Elodie, Yancy questions. Oh, brother Yancy. How are you feeling? Elodie asks, darting her eyes around. What are you doing here? He demands. Don't you remember? I was just taking a stroll and found you on the ground, he asked. Is that all? I certainly wasn't expecting him to forget everything. Elodie thinks. Then she said, yes, nothing else happened whatsoever. She thinks. I wonder if it was entirely pointless to try, since I'm not the main lead of this story. She asked. Are you sure you're not hurt, brother? He said. I'm fine. You can leave now. I don't need your pity, no, I'm quite capable of looking after myself. Well, it's certainly a relief to hear that, Elodie says, rising. Then I shall let you have some peace. Good night, brother. Yancy glances at Elodie as she walks away. He recalls a memory, then thinks. Then it was you before as well, Elodie. When dawn finally came to Perdia Manor, the light of day returned to reveal no sign of destruction or any untoward incident. And the household staff, too, came back to the estate from the shelter in which they hid for each night of the lunar eclipse. And all was as it should be once more. Lily, do you feel unwell? Yancy asks. She replied. Thank you for asking, but no. She thinks, except for one person. I won't begrudge him for thanking me in kindness for what I did last night, Elodie thinks, glancing sideways. But I thought he couldn't remember a thing. Just what is Yancy thinking? Yancy calls her again and again. Lily, she thinks, something is rather rotten. In the state of Yancy Perdia. What's the matter, Lily? Yancy asks with a smile. Elodie said. Brother, shouldn't you be tending to your duties? She thinks, why the sudden shower of affection? He puts his hand on her shoulder saying, are you still worried about me? How kind of you to care, Lily. But inside, Elodie is shivering. She said, of course I care, my dear brother. I'd hate to tear you away from your work. Yancy isn't buying it. Nonsense. Save the theatrics for the stage, will you? He squeezes her shoulder. Elodie's inner monologue is screaming. I knew it. He remembers everything from the other night. No doubt his intentions were to test me. He was biding his time to make sure that my lips are sealed. You know, Lily, Yancy continues, there is something else that you could do for me. He slips his hand around her neck. And what would that be? She asks, trying to keep her voice steady. Yancy smirks. You could allow me your hand for one. And my hand? Why on earth? Elodie is startled. So that he can erase me from existence? He glares at her first. Then he grabs her hand. He then used magic to test something. As I suspected, Yancy says. Elodie gasps. What did he suspect? Yancy starts. Elodie, you. Carlet interrupts. What? Will either of you explain what I'm looking at? Unless I'm finally seeing things. He looks totally confused. She thinks. Carlet. What are the odds they'd both come to the guest house at the same time? Elodie asks. Explain what? Carlet stammers. And never mind, I just came to tell you that Mother wants a word. Yancy raises an eyebrow. I didn't know you were Mother's messenger now, Carl. Carlet complains. Ugh. I just happened to bump into her in the hallway, that's all. She thinks. Oh, did you now? If someone could see us now, they'd marvel at what kind and caring siblings we seem to be. She thinks. Little would they know that none of us wished to be here. She then walks away saying, you know, you can spare yourself the trouble and have the staff pass on the message next time. Same goes for you, brother Yancy. She thinks there's no love lost between the three of us, after all. Elodie chimes in. I'm sure you have better things to be doing than coming all the way to the guest house. She turns away, thinking. No. I really ought to get going, if Mother's expecting me. The less we see of each other, the better. We cut to Elodie, now face to face with the Duchess. I was told you wanted to speak with me, Madam Duchess, the Duchess replies. That's right. I'm glad you came, Elodie, Elodie says. Would this be about the antidotes, perhaps? In part, yes, though I don't see any cause for haste. The Duchess responds. Elodie thinks. In part? But why else would the Duchess summon me, if not to talk about our business venture? Oh, speaking of which, ma'am, am I remembering correctly that you gave me 11 types of antidotes to work on? The Duchess responds with a knowing smile. No, I'm quite certain I gave you 12, Elodie gasps. Duchess asked. What is it? Elodie responds. Well, I'm afraid one of them has disappeared, the Duchess replies. I see. Are you sure your maid didn't misplace it by accident? Elodie replied. No. I don't think that's the case. I'm so sorry, ma'am. It was careless of me. The Duchess waves it off. Oh, it's hardly any worry at all. Who would be so foolish as to try and sneak away a poison from Perdia Manor of all places? She smirks. If a petty thief stole it for no other reason than that it looked shiny and expensive, then they'll pay a hefty price. Whether they drink it and succumb to the poison, or attempt to sell it on the black market, and inevitably end up behind bars, either outcome would entertain me to no end. Elodie is terrified. It's downright terrifying to hear such chilling words come from a beauty like her. The Duchess continues. For now, find out which poison went missing and have your maid pass it on to me. I shall send you a new sample. Elodie bows her head. Thank you, Madam Duchess. I'll make sure to send you the antidotes as soon as they're done, Elodie thinks. I was convinced she would be furious to hear that I'd lost one of her precious toxins. What a relief. The Duchess continues. Now, a little bird tells me Carl and Yancey just won't leave you alone lately. Elodie spits out her teeth. Oh my, is it a sore subject? The Duchess asks. No. Not at all. I promise it's nothing to be concerned about, Madam Duchess, she asked. Is that so? Elodie replies. I'll do my best not to get in their way. I won't trouble Carl except for the rare occasion that I need to go outside. And now, if you'll excuse me, I'll start working on those antidotes right away. Have a blessed day, Madam Duchess. And with that, the wild Elodie fled. The Duchess watches her go and thinks to herself, Well, I suppose for now, I ought to watch her for a while longer. Meanwhile, back at the prince's office. It's beyond doubt, sire. It's poison. Adonmiri is inspecting the bottle. Poison, is it? But what kind? What are its effects once imbibed? It appears to be the work of Duchess Demis Perdia, a skilled poisonsmith in her own right. I'm told a mere drop of it is potent enough to destroy the victim's respiratory organs, and with a full bottle's worth, it would cause certain death within seconds. Adonmiri is shocked. I see. You may leave me. He squeezes the bottle. I had good reason to suspect something unusual when I took this bottle from Lady Elodie's room, but little did I expect that it would be a lethal poison. Why would the Duke's daughter have this in her possession, let alone keep it opened on her table? The handiwork was far too amateurish to speculate that it was the Duchess's attempt to assassinate Lady Elodie. I doubt she's the type to leave evidence, for one. Then what other explanation is there? He then recalled about Elodie's health, thinking. Could it be? Meanwhile in a carriage, Carl said to Elodie. You ought to be more grateful, you know. This is precious time I could be devoting to training instead. Elodie, never one to back down, smiles sweetly and suggests. Oh, then perhaps I'll ask Brother Yancey to escort me from now on. He flinched as she said. Although, Father will be saddened to hear of your dereliction of duty. Instantly regretting, he said. Absolutely not. I won't have you pester him with this nonsense. Elodie shrugs, as if she's not putting up with his attitude for fun. He then asked, in any case, where are you dragging me off to today? She huffs. I don't see how that's any of your concern, he asked. Shouldn't the guard have some idea where his principal's headed? He adds under his breath, especially when said principal has a habit of bolting, Elodie fires back. Now I believe that's none of my concern. Carl is annoyed. Hey! Must you insist on acting like a brat? But Elodie simply replies. No need to fret. I promise I won't bolt. Meanwhile she thinks, at least, not until we arrive, she reveals. And if you must know, we'll be making a visit to the southern tower of mages. Suddenly, she's cut off by a terrible commotion outside. What's that awful commotion outside? The carriage is violently attacked and Elodie is thrown around. Oh wow! She groans. Hey! Carl said, seeing outside. He draws his sword, saying. Not a word. Stay put until I say it's safe. But Elodie is having none of it. What? Wait! Hold on a minute, Carl. She screams as he slams the door shut. She gets feared and shouts. She trembles as she thinks. Are those bandits? I can scarcely move. I'm so scared. Be safe, Carlet. Today's outing was supposed to be a trip to the southern tower of mages. Elodie had planned to bamboozle Carl under the pretense of browsing for Magitech trinkets, and secretly place another investment to hedge her bets following her initial investment in the western tower. She thinks, covering her ears, how did it come to this? It's silent out there. Is it over? Elodie wonders. I hope Carl hasn't been hurt. Grabbing the door handle, she thinks. Why hasn't he said anything yet? Suddenly, Elodie's eyes widen in shock. No, this isn't supposed to happen. We see Carl, outside, kneeling. Who could have brought a true Perdia like Carlet to his knees? Bandits surround him, blades drawn. Carl! Elodie screams. rummaging frantically in her bag. She throws a poison vial on one of the bandits. A strange smoke appears on his head. Elodie rushes to Carl's side. "Carl, can you stand?" He struggles. "I told you to stay put," she asked. "Never mind that." "Are you able to move?" he replied. "Ugh. And not for the moment." Elodie clenches her jaw. "It's a good thing I came prepared. The potion I unleash may not be lethal, but its mere scent is enough to incapacitate." The bandits cough and gag. "That ought to buy us enough time to flee." Helping Carl, she said. "After all your bravado about being father's trueborn, perhaps this will teach you some humility," Carl retorts. "Do not mock me. If it hadn't been for their anti-blessing magite, then what? You would have traded your life for your ego?" Elodie argues. She hops on the horse. "Come on. Hurry," she urges, already halfway onto a horse. Carl hesitates. "I'm wounded, Elodie. You'd be better off fleeing alone." "Don't presume to know what's best for me," she snaps. "I won't make it very far without you, and you know that. So if you're quite done with the self-pity, jump on." Carl sighs, a bead of sweat trickling down his face. "Very well. But do you even know how to ride a steed?" Elodie throws her hands up in exasperation. "Must he vex me so to the very last?" The horse starts running. The horse races through the forest. "There they are! After them!" a bandit yells. Elodie curses. "They're on our heels already? I thought the toxins would keep them down for a while longer. Had I known this might happen, I wouldn't have neglected my riding lessons." Such irony. "After all these new endeavors I've taken up to survive." The horse neighs, sensing the danger. "I won't die in vain." This is not where my story ends. Elodie urges the horse faster. The ground crumbles beneath its hooves. The bandits arrived and shouts. "It's the end of the road. Kill them," she thinks. "It's times like these I wish my blessing was any use when it comes to fending off bandits." Suddenly Elodie sees the drop ahead. "Carl?" He shoves off the horse. He raises his sword to defend them. The bandits attack him and she shouts. "Carl!" "No!" A bandit lunges at Carl, but instead of Carl he went for Elodie. Carl turns and shouts. "Elodie, get down!" She flinched. Elodie looks up in horror. Elodie is thrown backwards as the horse stumbles. She thinks, "There's nothing but a sheer drop down this way." Carl rushed towards her while she falls. "Elodie!" He reached for her hand. While falling she thinks, for some reason, my mind reached back into our past as I fell. "Don't you dare touch me!" Little Carl shouts. "You make my skin crawl." Back to present he reached for her. He shouts while trying to save her. "Elodie." "Back and past," Carl said. "You're a filthy child of sin. No one wants you in our home. And don't you dare touch me. You make my skin crawl." Elodie's falling. She's falling and Carl yells out her name. He reaches for her, but it's too late. She falls down, and Carl kneels at the cliff's edge, staring at his open hand. Why didn't you take my hand? Would you rather plummet to your death than owe me your life? Does your hatred run so deep that you would choose death over my hand?" He clenches his fist, furious. As she falls, Elodie thinks, "Is this how I meet my demise? I did everything I could to forge my own path. But it was all for naught in the end. Was it always in vain to rage against fate? I'm not ready to face the beyond." Suddenly, someone catches her. Lying in his arms, she stares up at him, recognizing his face. "I know him, the man who spoke of my past life." He looks down at her. "Shh, rest your eyes now." Elodie struggles against unconsciousness. "And no. There's so much I need to ask. I need to know." Meanwhile, back at the manor, Carl is on his knees. "Forgive me, father. The blame is entirely my own." Duke Sylvester stands over him, his face grim. "Where is she?" he demands. Carl replies, "She fell from the cliff on the way to the southern tower of mages at the outskirts of the capital." The Duke coldly orders, "Find her." Turning to his assembled men, Duke Sylvester's eyes narrow. "Spare no effort. Resort to any means necessary. You are to report back at once with any leads, no matter how small. Carlet, you will remain behind and seek treatment for your wounds." Carlet protests, "Father, I can direct the search myself." But the Duchess cuts him off. "You've been poisoned, Carl. You must rest." His mother puts a hand on his shoulder, and his brother looks on sternly. "Mother! Brother!" His brother rebukes him. "You call yourself a guard, Carl. Do you even have the faintest notion what your indiscretion has cost us?" His mother calms him. "Yancy, please. That's quite enough. Leave the search to your father for now, Carlet. Come with me and I shall get you fixed up in no time." Carlet argues weakly. "But mother." But Duke Sylvester's having none of it. He turns, his expression resolute. "I said nothing to suggest that you may not join the search party once you're fully healed. I will not risk you succumbing to your wounds, lest it hinder the search party." Carlet can only reply, As you command, father. Back in a mysterious room, Elodie wakes up. What is this place? She sits up in bed, startled. Ack. She clutches her chest. I was convinced I was done for, Elodie thinks, reflecting on her fall. But that man who caught me, it was him without a doubt. To think that he of all people would be my knight in shining armor. She steps out of bed, pondering. I wonder if there's a particular reason for his kindness. Be that as it may, there's no guarantee that I'm safe here. I have to make it back to the manor. Just then, the door bursts open. He freezes for a moment, and Elodie gasps. Oh, she said, seeing him. It's you. The man stares at her. Elodie said. Must we stand here in silence? Hearing this, he flinched and said, Oh, pardon me. Rian steps closer. I'm afraid you were wounded, my lady. Would you permit me to help you heal? Elodie hesitates, but agrees. Of course. She thinks, for now, it would be best to accept this man's aid. Though his motive is unclear, his disposition seems favorable, at least. Rian gestures to a seat. Would you care to take a seat over here, my lady? She replies demurely. If you insist, he continues. And I shall need to tear your sleeve open as well. May I? Elodie nods. You may, but I must ask, she asked, are you a practitioner of magic? He begins bandaging her arm. Not as such, my lady. Elodie observes. I see. In that case, are you a descendant of one of the great houses? Rian responds. I'm sorry to disappoint, but I am not, Elodie thinks. He doesn't appear to be lying, but it's difficult to believe when he's so princely in his looks. She clears her throat. Then at least do me the courtesy of sharing your name, sir. I have no idea how to address you, he answers. Rian, my lady, Rian continues. You may call me Rian for now, if it pleases you. Elodie seems surprised, as she replies. Rian, you say? Then, sir. I mean, Rian, he asked. Yes, my lady, she said. If you'll recall, you called me Ga-eul Yun when we first met. What gave you cause to call me by that name? Rian pauses. I heard it in a most peculiar dream. Elodie asks. A dream? Rian explains. Yes, a dream of another world far removed from our own, amid the endless circle of my vision in slumber. It was there that I first saw her, she thinks. He saw me, Ga-eul Yun, as a vision in his dream? Elodie's mind is racing. Rian had seen her as a vision, a dream, he tells her. I knew it was you at first glance, my lady. Ga-eul Yun of my visions, there in the flesh. He's holding her hand, but Elodie wonders. Is that all there is to it? He claims a woman named Ga-eul Yun appeared in his dreams, night after night. The moment he laid eyes on Elodie, he somehow knew she was this dream visitor. I realize it sounds peculiar, my lady, he admits. Elodie thinks. It does, although so does my own tale, and yet I don't recall any character by the name of Rian in the novel. She questions whether he even gave her his real name, but questioning him seems unlikely to make him any more forthcoming. Still, regardless of why he approached her, he doesn't seem to be a threat, she thinks. And Ishtar knows I have more pressing concerns right now. What an ungodly headache. Pray, what is this place? Elodie asks, looking around. Rian replies. This is my humble abode, my lady, she asks. I see, and when I fell from atop the cliff, did you happen to see anyone else? He responds. I could not speak for what went on above the cliff, my lady. However, I do know that the entirety of House Perdia is scouring the region in search of you. Elodie is shocked. They're searching for me, she reflects. I was certain they'd be all too pleased to see the back of House Perdia's perennial pariah. And to think that my entire family is committed to the search. Well, I had no intention of flying the nest quite this soon, so I ought to be grateful that they're looking for me at all. Even so, something has her ill at ease. While she was lost in her thoughts, he stares at her. He raised his hand to reach for her, but he paused as she asked, Would you happen to know how long it has been since I fell? Rian stutters. Around half a day or so, I should think. She gasps. Then I was out for much longer than I thought. Rian, may I impose on you for one more thing? He replied. Of course, my lady. Just say the word, Elodie declares. I must return to Perdia Manor at once. Would you guide the way? Back at Perdia Manor, Duke asks. Galen, have you garnered any leads on the ambush? Sir Galen, Knight Commander of House Perdia, responds. Forgive me, your grace. I regret to report that we've discovered nothing of whom the bandits serve as of yet. However, it does appear that the assailants were no ordinary bandits, but assassins intent upon Lady Elodie's life. Duke Sylvester asks. Elodie's life, Galen continues. Just so, my lord. According to Master Carlet, all the while he faced down the assassins, the miscreants seemed persistent in targeting Lady Elodie, Yancey said. Then you will spare no means in tracking down the one they serve. But the Duke interjects. I think not, the Duke retorts. It is paramount that we save Elodie from their grasp first. Come, we shall ride out to the scene once more. But then, they receive news. Lady Elodie has returned, safe and sound, Elodie thinks. I'm glad I managed to make it back to Perdia Manor with Rianne's help, but I certainly could have done without the welcoming crowd in my bedchamber. Duke Sylvester orders. Elodie, you are to remain at home for a week while you rest. That is an order. Elodie thinks. Grounded again? Fine. She responds sweetly. Yes, father, the Duchess asks. Elodie, have you been hurt anywhere else? Elodie replies. Truly, I'm right as rain, ma'am. The Duchess responds. It's a relief to hear you say so. Still, do let me know if anything ails you down the line, Elodie says. Well, there is one thing. If you recall the gift that you gave me, Madam Duchess. I'm afraid I used up the whole thing in the commotion, the Duchess responds. So I heard, Elodie. I couldn't have put it to better use myself. Would you care for some more? Elodie gets surprised by her response and says, Oh, I'd be most grateful, the Duke says. Very well, then you shall have it. Now, the hour grows late and you need your rest. We shall leave you in peace, her father adds. Take as much time as you need, Elodie, she replies. Thank you, father. Good night. Once they're gone, Elodie thinks. Finally, they've all left. I could scarcely breathe, except they've left a straggler behind, it seems, she asks Scarlet. Was there something else? If so, I'd thank you to be brief. I'm utterly exhausted as it is. Meanwhile, she thinks. The last I saw, his wounds seemed heavy, but I presume he was promptly healed, seeing as how there's not a scratch on him now. He squeezed his hand, asking, Why didn't you take my hand? Elodie says. I'm sorry. Oh, Carl, he interjects. Were you so eager to die? She asked. Why? Have I disappointed you with my safe return? Carlet stutters. That couldn't be any further from what I meant, Elodie retorts. Then what did you mean, I wonder? Speak plainly, for I lack the strength to bicker with you. Let us dispense with the pleasantries and… Suddenly, Carlet hugs her tightly. Elodie is shocked. She asked. What in Ercala's name? He confesses. Fine, I confess. I was worried sick, she accuses. You're acting like a man possessed. He insists. I'm of a sound mind, I can assure you of that, Elodie thinks. Ha, I never thought I'd see the day, in this lifetime or the last. Is he crying? She demands. Calm down and explain yourself, would you? What have I done to deserve this? Is this your new way of tormenting me? Carlet says. I'm sorry, Elodie. I've wronged you in so many ways. All this time, I've held you in disdain and spoke to you with contempt. Hearing this from Carl, she gets completely shocked. He continues. I mocked the circumstances of your birth, and found a way to chastise you at every turn. I have no one to blame for my actions but myself, though I am sure the very sight of me makes you. She interjects saying, Just a moment, she asked. Have I ever said anything of the kind to you? He replied, making an innocent face. No, but you needn't say a word, she thinks. Is this character development? Elodie recalls the moment she fell from the cliff and said, Oh, you said it yourself, Carl. I'm impure and you were loath to even lay a finger on me. Carlet hugs her again and cries out, I was a cruel knave to ever say such a thing. There's nothing impure about you, quite the opposite. Elodie says dryly. How flattering, Carlet vows. I swear, dear sister, I'll guard you with my life from this day on. Elodie gets shocked and repeated his words. Dear sister, Carlet confirms. Yes. With Ishtar as my witness, I shall be a faithful hound at your beck and call. Elodie is dumbfounded. Does he have any idea what he's saying? The Perdia's mansion bathed in the moonlight. Rianne! Elodie calls out, startling him. He turns. Lady Elodie, the Duke asked her, Rianne, I see you're already on a first-name basis. Elodie stammers. I apologize, father. I forgot myself out of joy. She's trying to play it off, but we all know the Duke's got that scary dad glare going. Though I do wish you had called for me to greet our guest with you. After all, I've yet to properly thank him for saving my life. The Duke is not having it. Yes. It was next on my mind, liar. Elodie's inner monologue screams, because she knows the Duke never planned on inviting her. She recalled Martha said. My lady! You should have seen our guest, a dashing gent with sable hair and red eyes. Elodie tries to regain control. Have I barged in on an important conversation? The Duke smoothly replies. As it happens, Sir Rianne and I were discussing his reward for your rescue. Rianne jumps in. I was honored to come to your aid, Lady Elodie, and I was saying to your Lord Father that I'd be honored if you'd grant me a favor in return. Elodie, completely thrown off, asks, "A favor? From me? What is it that you would ask of me, Sir Rian?" He leans in, close enough to make any maiden swoon, and says, "Simple, my lady. I would like you to be my employer." Then, with a flourish, "Allow me to formally introduce myself, my lady. I am Ian, the captain of the Skyward Falcons." "The captain of the Skyward Falcons?" Elodie is shocked. "I know that name." Flashbacks of a battlefield ignite. 2 years ago, he was renowned in the war against the kingdom of Nelter, and gained the Emperor's favor so that not even nobles could scorn him. They called him Ian the Mercenary King, Elodie explains. Though he's a commoner by birth, he's well known in high society as well. Even I've heard tell of his name and reputation. Back in the present, Elodie stares at Ian. "Sir Ian, am I to understand that you wish to pledge your services to me as a hired sword?" Ian confirms. "Indeed, my lady." Elodie is confused. "But to what end? I doubt you're in need of coins. I don't quite see what you might stand to gain, if I may speak candidly. The second prince of Valencia seeks to bind me to his service as we speak," she thinks. "So, Prince Beltran has made his move. Is this his way of expressing his candidacy for the throne?" Elodie's mind is racing. "Then it would be prudent of me to take up Rian's offer, and deprive the second prince of a valuable ally. And the best part of it is, I won't have to tolerate Carlet as my guard dog any longer. Given that Rian's very existence is a wild card, it may also prove beneficial to keep a close eye on him. In more ways than one, this is an offer I can hardly pass up." Elodie makes her decision. "Wonderful! I accept." The Duke said. "No," he said. "I forbid it. Let me ask you this, Elodie. Do you trust this man?" Elodie stands her ground. "Of course I do, father. Sir Ian saved my life. He had no obligation to do so." The Duke is suspicious. "How can you be so sure that he had no ulterior motive? Who's to say he's not in league with the assassins?" Elodie argues. "If I may, father, I believe the arrangement Sir Ian proposes would be a boon to House Perdia. Should the rest of the Empire and beyond see that the infamous Skyward Falcons have forged a close alliance with our house, it would only serve to further bolster the influence of the Crown Prince." The Duke pauses, considering. "She asked, 'Am I mistaken, father?'" He sighed. "Ha!" And he reaches for a book. "Very well. I shall draft the agreement myself." Elodie escapes to the garden for some tea. "So, Rian was none other than Ian the Mercenary King. I'm a fool to not have put it together sooner. Especially when his alias is hardly any different. Or perhaps Rian is his true name. Regardless, no matter for one reason or another, it seems Ian wishes to remain by my side. I suppose it saves me having to search for him, but it remains to be seen whether he's deserving of my trust." Suddenly, Carlet and Yancy appear. "Sister Elodie," Elodie sighs. "I was hoping to enjoy a quiet tea time alone, but I see my brothers have other ideas." She turns to Martha. "Could we have a moment in private, Martha?" Once Martha is out of earshot, Elodie confronts her brothers. "I seem to recall expressing that I wished to be left alone in the guest house. Perhaps you've both forgotten." "Nevertheless, to what do I owe the pleasure of your company?" Carlet said. "Well, we were hoping you could sate our curiosity." "Curiosity over what, pray?" Elodie asks, already knowing the answer. Yancy replies, "What else but the next palace banquet? Whom will you choose to go with you? Chaperone number 1, Carlet, or chaperone number 2, Yancy?" But Elodie drops the bomb. "Oh, but I've already decided to attend with Ian." Carlet is aghast. Who now?" "Sir Ian," Elodie repeats. "This sells word? But why?" Carlet cries. Elodie shrugs. "And why not? His Highness the Crown Prince barely ever attends these balls, and I've always had to go alone. Since I have Ian as my personal guard, I thought it would make a pleasant change to have him escort me instead." Carlet protests. "But I'm your personal guard," Yancy interrupts. "Elodie, am I right in assuming you were acquainted with the Mercenary King before?" Elodie side-eyes him. "Yes, though it was a passing encounter on the street." "Is that so?" he asked. She replied. "It is, yes." He then said, "I thought as much." Ian of the Skyward Falcons. "To what extent do you truly know the man, Lily?" Meanwhile, back at the Skyward Falcons base, someone is questioning Ian's motives. "Captain? What were you thinking, getting involved with the Perdias on a whim?" Ian, sitting regally, responds. "Quiet. My whims are mine alone." His subordinate pushes. "Sure they are, sir, but I can't help but be concerned that you've lost your wits." Ian icily replies. "My wits are no concern of yours either." He blinks, remembering Elodie. "Ga-eul Yun, in this life, I swear to you, I won't let your story end in tragedy."